Gonna lie, y'all, this pisses me off. The Department of Education is removing graduate nursing programs and a bunch of major healthcare programs from the official professional degree list. People need to pay attention to what this means. They're talking about removing all of these right here that's on this list. But the one that get me the most is the nurse. They act like the nurses don't be the ones that's holding up that damn hospital. Their scholarship opportunities gonna be messed up. Their student loans, their funding.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys have been here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. Don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scarce and curious videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Seek the truth.
It'll change the way you see the world. This map shows whether you say drinking fountain, water fountain, or bubbler. I remember the first time I heard my friend say bubbler, I was like, what are you talking about? But drinking fountain. Grew up in California, drinking fountain is all I know.
Water fountain.
So, sorry my Floridian residents that I live by now. This red line around Europe is what it would look like if you lined the Great Wall of China around the continent. I actually just have to take a second. That is absolutely insane. Echo, how long is the Great Wall of China?
It is 13,171 miles long.
13,000 miles around Europe. That's crazy. These maps show how many fast food chains are specifically avoiding New Mexico. This is a map of Culver's that's avoiding it. Shake Shack is avoiding New Mexico. Buc-ee's is avoiding New Mexico. Dave's Hot Chicken is not in New Mexico, and most of everywhere else. I just had Checkers for the first time last night, and that's funny that came up here, but New Mexico, they're not in New Mexico. Jollibee's not in New Mexico. El Pollo Loco's not in New Mexico. In-N-Out is not in New Mexico. They're everywhere else on the West Coast there. New Mexico, what's wrong with you to make all of these places avoid you?
For evil. That's why it's called Sin City. Watch this.
Hotels in Vegas don't have balconies because they don't want you to jump if you lost a lot of money gambling.
Yep.
I think the education system in Vegas is so bad because they want people to work at hotels. They want people to dance. They want people to become entertainers. They do not want people to become doctors or nurses or engineers or anything like that. The desert is mostly filled with dead bodies. When you're walking and you're out and about in Vegas, you'll never see a clock because time doesn't exist in Vegas. They want you to spend money. They want you to gamble. Why would they show you a clock? Why would they let you see anything you can have control over?
Remember, y'all, Vegas is called Sin City for a reason. It's not designed for you to go over there and do good. I warned you. Stay weird.
In 1990, someone fell into the Jaws ride. Someone fell into the water and came face to face with the animatronic shark. Let's talk about it. This is the pit of the Jaws ride without water, and the dude fell in because of a broken railing, and he fell off the little boat. And nightmare about it last night, so I'm making it everyone else's problem. This photo, oh my god. This, by the way, is the size difference of a human being next to the Jaws ride animatronic. Could you imagine being in the water with this submerged animatronic? My submechanophobia butt would lose my mind. Now, he ended up suing for $1 million when he fell in, and he ended up scraping his leg on something in the water, which is terrifying. But no, $1 million would not be enough for me. We don't know if it fell in front of this one, like the regular looking one, or the one that gets blown up by the wire. Could you imagine this one in particular coming at you under the water? Watch this video of the ride and let me know how you would fare. And if you are scared of this TikTok that I just made, you have submechanophobia. Congratulations.
I don't think I have submechanophobia. That's still crazy, man. Falling in the water, seeing that come at you? Could be me, and meal not enough, bro. I need 100 M's.
When was the last time you saw Ariana Grande? Why do I ask? Because fans took notice to the way she looked at the Wicked premiere with her co-stars. If you haven't seen the images, take a look at this. Who is that in that photo? Is that Ariana Grande? Does that look like Ariana Grande to you? This is the Ariana Grande that we're all used to seeing in music videos and TV shows. So who is this Ariana Grande? In side-by-side images posted to social media accounts, fans are claiming that this is not the same person, leaving the question once again to be asked, has Hollywood claimed another celebrity? And as I say in all my videos, I understand that people can age and people can change.
Yeah.
But these Hollywood celebrities are not looking the same, leaving the question once again to be asked, has Hollywood claimed another celebrity? So I guess my question to you is, what is going on with Ariana Grande? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
Here's some of the weirdest things that have been found frozen in ice. Possibly one of the weirdest things found frozen in ice was a fully intact child's mummified corpse who was 13 to 15 years old, nicknamed the Frozen Maiden. This mummy was found alongside 2 other children mummies on the slope of a volcano 22,000 feet above sea level. The body was presumed to be over 500 years old, and yet they were still able to find lice in her hair. After some lab testing, scientists made a hypothesis that this person was probably suffering from a bacterial disease which led to her people sacrificing her to the Yoyayeko volcano, the same volcano that she was found on centuries later. Alongside their bodies were pots of food, silver and gold, religious statues, and a feathered hat, further confirming their hypothesis about a sacrificial ritual taking place to send their souls to live in peace with the gods.
I have a crazy theory about Tesla. Just give me 1 second. So y'all do understand that the Tesla logo is a Baphomet symbol. I mean, do you not see the striking resemblance? But we'll come back to that. Y'all know how Tesla can see. Like, it has a radar that can see when people are around and other cars are around and things like that. And the way they pick up on people is like energies, right? And do y'all see those videos where Tesla is picking up people in the nearby vicinity, but there is no one in the nearby vicinities? For some reason, Tesla is saying that there's 1 person over there, there's 2 people, there's 3 people. Sometimes there's large groups, like this one right here. Mind you, there is never anybody there. What Baphomet? Who is that thing on their chest? That is Satan. That is a symbolism of Satan. The goat. Because Jesus is the lamb. Interesting. What if those things that you are seeing are just demons? And no, let me take it a step further. You know how the Nephilim was not God's creation? So when God flooded the earth, their spirit started roaming the earth because they now have no body. Remember, they begged Jesus to go into the pigs, and Jesus casted them into the pigs, which means their energy is still roaming. If they have not found something to house, their energies are roaming around. I can guarantee you, if you put a Tesla in biblical areas, like biblical geographical areas, I can guarantee you, if you put a Tesla there, it would pick up on so many more people that are not actually there. You drive a Tesla through biblical areas, any places in the Bible where things happened. I know for a fact that the spirit of the Nephilims are roaming around the Middle East like wildfire right now. That is my theory. What do you guys think?
What do you guys think, bro? Did that Tesla symbol, does it resemble that? Kinda does. It's a weird rabbit hole I'm gonna have to go down at.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to fall in the water right now.
Telling me. Game over. What's happening? All those sharks migrating, bro?
Want to go swimming?
Hell no.
What's the deal with that? I never seen that either.
I've seen it, but that's a lot of medium. Have y'all ever seen that many all at once, yet? Not really.
Squatters have hit the absolute jackpot after managing to take over an entire Spanish resort. All of the 92 suites are now occupied, and the owners still legally have to pay gas and electricity. This is Callao Sport Hotel on the popular holiday island of Tenerife. And about 10 months ago, it was broken into by a group of 12 what they call mafia squatters. What a name. And they've essentially refused to leave ever since. And they are now even renting out rooms as if they own it. And as a result of this, the crowd living there is now risen to about 200 people. Bro, the Christmas rave they're about to have is going to be outrageous. But you're probably wondering, how the hell is this possible? Well, Spain is renowned for having very strict tenant protection laws, especially when it comes to evictions. So the actual procedure to have someone removed from your property can be very lengthy and very difficult. In fact, the owners say that the bills they now have to pay per month is about 6,000 euros. They say that is triple of what they were paying when this resort was operational because of how many people live there. But the squatters, on the other hand, they're also blaming the government for this. They're saying that authorities have long neglected locals in favor of benefiting tourists. And because of that, house prices have reportedly risen to about 80% in the last decade in the region. So they claim that they can no longer afford rent, so they just kind of go wherever they need to. Now, after a year of litigation back and forth, a court has finally ordered the eviction of the squatters within 30 days. So I guess we'll see if they actually leave.
You know the Gulf of America, right? Yeah. Did you know I found a map and it doesn't say Gulf of America? Are you saying there was something else besides the Gulf of America? It was named something different, and it's like an old, I don't even know how it happened, but it used to be called Gulf of Mexico. Shut. Dead serious. Show me a proof. You have a picture of it? Here with this map? Are you sure it's not Photoshopped? I'm positive. That's crazy if that's true. Yeah. The Gulf of Mexico? That doesn't even sound good. Look at this. Are you kidding me? This says when Gulf was that? Mexico. Oh. Was that some type of like ancient map? Apparently. I don't know where they found it. The Gulf of America used to be called Gulf of Mexico. That's insane. That can't be true. It is. We gotta look into that. That's crazy. I wonder what secrets are hiding. Golly, who knows, man? Was it like an old ancient civilization that lived in Mexico? Yeah, it was probably built by the giants, dude. Find something new every day. Crazy. I know. Golly, I'm so glad I learned that ninjas are butterflies.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all. This pissed me off because this is wild as fuck. The Department of Education is removing graduate nursing programs and a bunch of major healthcare programs from the official professional degree list. People need to pay attention to what this means. They're talking about removing all of these right here that's on this list. But the one that get me the most is the nurse. They act like the nurses don't be the ones that's holding up that damn hospital, putting that shit on their back. Nurses are literally the backbone of the hospital because they're the ones that's managing codes, they're checking vitals, they're managing the meds, they're tending to the families, they even be doing the labor shit. They want to pretend that don't count as being a professional? Making any sense, y'all? And the wild part is, removing these from the degree list is going to mess up a lot of stuff for them. Their scholarship opportunities going to be messed up, their student loans, their funding, everything, recognition, that's people's careers, that's their future, all being messed up. So if y'all want to know why the healthcare is falling apart, it's because of this reason right here. Because they're cutting from the people who actually keep this shit alive.
I think y'all better pick.
That's crazy, bro. What's the point? Why cut those from the official degree list? That's the real question we need to be asking. Like, why those specific fields in general? Like you said, that's gonna mess up so many opportunities for people, their careers, man. Trying to get a loan. You're like, I want to get a loan for this career, to be like, well, it's not really on the freaking degree list or something like that, so we can't even help you. It's going to have so much trickle effect that people not even paying attention to it, man. You got to wake up, Seekers.
Pay attention to what's going on. Because that volcano that erupted in Ethiopia hasn't erupted in 12,000 years. That shit was not supposed to happen. That volcano that erupted hasn't erupted since anybody on this earth lived on this earth. Mind you, this volcano just erupted out of the blue. So you telling me after 12,000 years, this shit just randomly erupted? Does that make sense to you? Villages completely dark. Numerous animals died. Ash shot almost 10 miles into the air. Mind you, this volcano is about 500 feet. This is the same volcano that erupted before. You ain't just hear what I just said, right? Mind you, 40 other volcanoes erupted simultaneously. Now jump down that rabbit hole. What just happened in Europe? That volcano that was in Europe, that shit erupted too. The earth is definitely giving signs right now, and those signs do not look good. And I heard somebody mention this, but do you remember what the prophet said about fire rising near the Red Sea? Where's Ethiopia? I see everybody worrying about what technology going to do. But you got to remember this.
There were civilizations that lived before us, and they didn't have the technology we had. But it seems like they knew way more than what we did. And if those prophecies are true, this volcano erupting is not a good thing at all. Pay attention.
He was a cave diver. I don't know if you know. It was not the UFC fighter. His name was John Jones, though. But he was a cave diver named John Jones. He was with his friends and did this normal for him.
Utah County search and rescue team surrounded the mouth of Nutty Putty Cave. 26-year-old John Jones had been stuck since 9 o'clock Tuesday night.
If you've seen the picture, he tried it and he got stuck at a 70-degree angle.
Dude, you couldn't get out at all.
And he couldn't get out. All his friends were trying to like pull him out, obviously. But imagine you're 70 degrees upside down, right? Blood is flowing through your thing, and he was stuck there, fam, for 19 hours before even people came up. But
was he saved?
No, fam, he died. He died at that angle. That cave and all is locked off. It's like closed just because him.
Here we are at the Nutty Putty Cave entrance. I'm assuming that I'm standing on the cement. Flag for Kellen.
Team Campbell's soup uses bioengineered food. So not only did the VP of Campbell's just get caught on a hot mic saying that in their soups they use bioengineered meat, and the only people that eat Campbell's soup is poor people. So this Campbell's employee secretly recorded the VP of Campbell's saying this.
Poor people. Who buys their shit? I don't buy Campbell's. It's barely anymore. It's healthy. Now that I know the bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer.
But this is where it gets even more worse. This guy secretly recorded the VP, and he ranted about how bad Campbell's is for over an hour. And now people are looking on the backs of Campbell's chicken noodle soups and realizing that, yes, it contains bioengineered food ingredients. And this is where it gets even more insaner. Somehow now people are mad that the employee secretly recorded the VP, saying that secretly recording someone for an hour isn't cool. And the VP, he hasn't even been fired yet. And now even more insaner, Campbell's responds and saying that there is no bioengineered meat in their food, and that Campbell's is proud of the food that they made. Now, as of now, this is all alleged. Did you ever eat Campbell's soup again?
No, bro. My man, he said he went on an hour rant, bro. I still can't believe, bro. He just says for poor people, man. These freaking major CEOs of these companies, bro. It's rare, man, to find one that actually cares about the product and cares about, the people, everybody who's buying it, man. We're the consumers, bro. We have the power. People seem to forget that, man. If we just freaking boycott their products, they're gonna lose all their money, bro. The bottom line is gonna crash. But when you go to when you get a Campbell soup, bro, you always gotta look in the back, bro. It says bioengineered food. And the fact that it wasn't even disclosed, I mean, it's all alleged, so it's not really true or confirmed right now, but bro. Next time I go in the store, man, I'm looking at the back of that freaking the Campbell soup. Even though I don't eat it, man, I just have to see, man. I have to confirm it for myself.
Here's something most people don't know. France is one of the only countries on the planet that has a fully official government-backed UFO investigation office. It's called ZIPON, and it's part of the French Space Agency. Basically the equivalent of NASA having a dedicated UFO, UAP department to the phenomena. They've actually been quietly studying sightings, radar returns, pilot encounters, and physical trace cases since the 1970s. And unlike the U.S., they don't hide behind the word weather balloon. They release the case files publicly, which is super cool. And they classify them, everything from explained to unexplained to phenomena that defy current science. And two of the most famous ones are called the Trans-en-Provence landing, which is a cool one. It's a craft said to have even left measurable trace effects in the soil. The other is called Valençol encounter, and that's where a farmer reported entities. There was a full investigation. His testimony and the case were treated seriously. So while everyone in America is arguing over, whistleblowers and secret programs, France literally said, yeah, we study it officially, and here are the files. And the U.S. has actually reviewed some of ZIPON's most famous cases. So there's your fun fact for the day. France is home to one of the oldest official UFO research programs on Earth.
Noted.
If y'all don't get with the program quickly, pretty soon AI is going to put Trump and a lot of people in the crypto space behind bars. The government just dropped this artificial robot that's able to read blockchain transaction faster than any human auditor on Earth. Every trade, every transfer, every wallet hop, if you forget
her phone charged. A girl named Marissa came home from school at around 3 p.m. She walked in the door and told her mom that some random number kept calling her all day. Her mom told her the person may have the wrong number and just to ignore it. Marissa said okay and begins to do her homework. A couple hours later, she receives a phone call from the same number. Marissa answers at this time and says, Hello? The man then says, "We finally found you. Don't worry, Bunny." Marissa begins to panic and tells her mom what just happened. Her mom's face goes blank and says, "What did the man just call you?" Marissa says, "He called me Bunny." Her mom yells and says, "Grab your stuff, we need to leave." Marissa, confused, packs her things and gets into the red car. Her mom begins driving fast and turns on the radio. The radio says, "The baby named Marissa who was kidnapped in the hospital 10 years ago has been found and police are searching for a red car." Marissa looks at the woman and says, "Who are you?" The woman looks back and says, "You can call me Mommy."
People you never knew existed. This is Josephine Myrtle, and she was born with 4 legs and 2 sets of genitals. Despite having these conditions, she got married and had 5 kids. These are the only 2 men in the world who can speak the Ayacaneco language in Mexico, but they don't talk to each other because they have beef. Doctors were left stunned when this man came into the hospital complaining about chest pain. After a couple of scans, they realized he had 2 hearts. Jill Price has perfect memory of her life, and if you asked her what she ate for breakfast 20 years ago, she would get it right.
What the heck? I can't even know what I had for breakfast like 2 weeks ago. And she has perfect memory like that? Hey man, the world has extraordinary people, bro. You always gotta be on the lookout.
Most Evilish Children, Part 1. Mary Bell. Mary Bell was born from a 17-year-old sex worker in England. Throughout this little girl's childhood, she was always abused. From her own mother and from her mother's clients. That's when she decided to take her anger out on other people. The day before her 11th birthday, she took this little boy into an abandoned house to strangle him. His name was Martin Brown. Her and her friend Norma Brown even went to a nursery home and trashed it, but the cops let it go because they thought it was a sick prank. Then they took this little boy named Brian Howe by the nursery and also strangled him. Mary did unspeakable things to his body. She was then convicted of manslaughter and deemed a psychopath. She was locked up for 12 years but then got released in 1980 at the age of 23. She was then given a brand new identity to avoid the spotlight. So now she's free to do whatever she wants. She could even be your neighbor and you would never even know. Like this video for a part 2 of Evilish Children.
Yeah, I see that part 2, man.
The creepiest urban legends from around the world, Part 5. Scotland, the White Death. Legend holds that there was once a little girl who hated being alive so much she wanted to destroy every trace of herself. She burned all her belongings and then killed herself. But then her family found out, and within a few days, they were all found dead with their limbs torn apart. It's said that her vengeful spirit returned as the White Death to hunt down anybody who knows about her existence. And before she kills you, she'll knock at your door 7 times.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. Anna said that her grandfather died from lung cancer. He was fine, but then once he was diagnosed, he deteriorated very quickly. Within a month from his diagnosis, he had passed away. She said that her father took care of him in his room around the clock until the day that he died. During this time period, he would get very focused on the corners of the room. He would stare at them, and then later he would say things like, "Get them away. I see them in the corners. And I see the dark in the corners." Anna said that her and her family would ask what, where, but the only thing he would say was the corner. Anna said that her mother witnessed this and got very frightened. Anna's mother said that what he was seeing was not a good sign and that it could mean that he has many sins. Her mother grew up in a small village where there were many sayings like that. She said that some people usually see their dead relatives when they're dying, but others see some not so good things. Anna thinks that her mother was implying that he was seeing demons.
This is the scary truth behind
What was he
celebrities.
seeing?
If you ever see a celebrity do this hand symbol and then place it over their eyes in photos, it's actually not a fun symbol. It actually symbolizes the number 666. And these aren't the only symbols that celebrities express to the public. And it's leading many people to believe that they are doing symbols like this to symbolize their alliance to the Illuminati. This is extremely crazy. But let's be honest, these symbols that they are doing don't look normal at all. And it really makes you think why they are doing that.
Hey man, we know, man, how celebrities, how they can get into things, man. And it's really bad for everybody, man. We see the stuff that's going on with Diddy, bro. So, yeah, man, anything's possible, man. This year was full of exposing, so I mean, if somebody has a symbol up like that, I just say just be aware. Keep a close eye on them, man.
The rarest things in the world, part 11.
The pinstripes on every Rolls-Royce since 2003 have been painted by one man named Mark Korb. It's the last manufacturing step and can't afford even the slightest mistake, since the paint instantly bonds with the car's body and can't be erased. A Russian girl named Amina is admired for her unusual beauty. She's diagnosed with 2 rare genetic conditions, albinism, which makes her skin and hair extremely white, and heterochromia, in which her eyes are different colors. Costing around $300 per pound, A5 olive Wagyu beef is the rarest steak in the world. Due to the cow's specialized diet of caramelized olive pulp, the steak gives off hints of olive oil and is very buttery in texture. In 1989 Wisconsin, 7 generations of a family were alive at the same time. The ages of the mothers/daughters were 109, 89, 70, 52, 33, 15, and 1 month. This unbelievable occurrence remains undisputed and stands as a world record to this day.
We ain't seen that again.
Look, I get it. I got a platform. I gotta watch what I say, even as a joke, whatever. The thing is, I've had an actual hot take that I've been holding on to for way too long. But like, an actual hot take. I'm gonna need y'all to hear me out. Give me a chance. Now, exotic pets are wrong. That's a fat thumbs down. I feel like cheetahs are begging to be tamed. Now listen, I'm not talking house pets. You wouldn't feed them right. Theirs in a backyard big enough. They'd be miserable. Fat, no. But the way we weaponize falcons, we can get a lot of mileage out of a feline Ferrari. Cheetahs are probably the most people-safe predators on the planet. I don't know if a cheetah's ever life-retired a person, but I know they must have deserved it. And I know you've seen that video of that forest guard culling a family of cheetahs every night. Also think about this. Cheetahs aren't even big cats. Big cats are like lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars. Cheetahs are basically overgrown house cats that got thrown into the savannah. It's like taking the best 5th grade basketball player in the world and putting him in the NBA. It's a wild mismatch. They get bullied so bad they literally need emotional support dogs in captivity just to have the confidence to be themselves. So yeah, I think if we had the tools, a cheetah-human duo would go crazy. And F it, another hot take. If cheetahs ever get to that point, I think they're fine right now, but if they ever get close to extinction like they were back in the day, we really could just airdrop them to Australia. And I know most things in Australia eventually become a problem, and every time we try to play God, we get burnt, but it'd really be them and dingoes, and cheetahs would probably nerf the rabbit problem, and keep kangaroos humble. But yeah, if there's a wild animal humanity wants to collab with next, please let it be cheetahs.
Crazy facts you
Cheetahs next up on the list?
Humans share 50% of their DNA with bananas. There's a planet made of diamonds in our galaxy. There's more stars in the universe than grains of sand on every place in Earth. Bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't. Imagine having facts like this delivered to you every day. I found this app called Nibble, and it's a great way to dive into quick, fun lessons on any topic you can imagine. From art to science to finance, Nibble's got it all covered in bite-sized lessons. With Nibble's 10-minute interactive lessons, you'll learn much faster. It's like my personal knowledge hack I use to learn things quickly. So if you want to learn things fast, try out Nibble today and learn in a different way.
A few months ago, we talked about this terror that's at Disneyland, where you go in a boat and through Monstro's mouth and you can see the top of its mouth with all of its veins in its mouth, and it's terrifying. But have you ever seen the animatronic one that's at Disneyland Paris? Because there's a ride called Pinocchio's Daring Journey in Disneyland Paris, and this gigantic animatronic whale, Monstro, pops out at you. I would crap myself. This picture is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life, where the lights are on and you can see what it looks like before it pops out. Am I the only one extremely creeped out by this picture in particular? Here's another picture of the lights kind of on, where it's in this enclave. Why is it giving Little Shop of Horrors? But this is where it looks like in the complete darkness. Whew. So yeah, watch this. Would you ever go on this ride? Have you ever gone on this ride? Are you scared of whales as well? Watch this. Let me know how you're feeling.
Okay, let's check it out.
A 24-year-old mukbanger
I'm good.
just died after her stomach ripped open on live stream. This was also a 10-hour live stream. It was very lengthy, and she was consuming a lot of things: cake, chicken, everything, you name it. She was a Chinese woman by the name of Pan Xiaoting. She died last week from a stomach rupture on the live stream after consuming over 15 pounds of food. The autopsy report suggested that her stomach literally ripped open because there was a lot of undigested food in there and the stomach was distended. This is not the first incident either. She was hospitalized a few months ago for her stomach bleeding for the same thing, eating a lot of food on a live stream. And it's sad too, because even her parents are begging her to stop. A lot of mukbang culture has become a little toxic. The more outrageous it gets, the more viewers, these people get and the more money they make. It kind of incentivizes them to destroy their bodies in this way. I really feel for this young girl and her family. It's just so sad. Hopefully other mukbangers see this and they take this as like a warning. Just be more careful. Your stomach can literally rupture. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Hello? 15 pounds of food, man. And it said that she was already hospitalized before that for stomach bleeding, man. These mukbangs, bro. Palm Kiss Nico, Avocado Man, remember how he was, but then he dropped the video saying he lost all that weight. But then there was some more footage that came out just saying, oh, it's like edited or something like that. But it's just, those mukbangers, I don't think I could ever be a mukbang, man, because you gotta consume all that food. I get full fast, so that ain't for me.
Hello? It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Oh my god! What the?
Imagine going to the gym and never leaving, y'all. This is absolutely heartbreaking. So a man named Brian Sink, I believe that's his name, that from what I've looked into, lost his life inside of one of the tanning beds in a Planet Fitness and stayed there for almost 2 days, y'all. They weren't able to even locate this man or even know this man was missing. Now, according to what I looked into, he went to the gym around the time, I guess, they were closed and had, used the tanning room. And at the time that they had closed up, for whatever reason, they had not realized he was still in there and occupying that area, and no one might have checked. I don't know. All I know that there was reports in Indiana at a Planet Fitness, it's the exact location right here, that a man was found deceased inside of a tanning bed, like one of those long, rectangular like tanning beds, and they are still trying to figure out how he managed to get stuck in there. Y'all, be careful with everything going on in this world. Someone just got stuck in a Tesla. Please be safe and careful when you go places.
So the case of the female Hannibal Lecter is hands down the most shocking I've ever encountered. And I've seen a lot. The worst is what happened to her final romantic partner. Now, she had an intention to seek revenge on this man because he had left her. And again, she has this pervasive feeling that she needs to control everything around her, including him. So what she did was a true horror story. If you do want additional details on this, we have an entire episode on the case. Basically, he didn't show up for work, and a lot of people at his work, they knew that Catherine was a violent problem in his life, so police were sent to his home, and this is what they found. Catherine had knifed through his body upwards of 37 times. She then skinned him and hung the skin up in the foyer, and then she hoisted up the body, removed the head, propped him up in an armchair, positioned him and posed him, and then police were wondering, where's the head? Where did she take the head? We go into the kitchen. She was boiling it. He had spent hours cooking all these ingredients from his body with the intention that when his daughters came home, they would walk in, see their dad's skin hanging up in the entrance of the home, see his body hoisted up in the chair, and then she would force them to eat their dad. I am telling you, doing night security, it's gotta be one of the scariest jobs. Okay, so this photo right here, this was captured by Michael Hostin on the 3rd floor bathroom of a Dallas shopping mall. The reason he took it was because he's night security and he heard noises coming from this bathroom, but he was nervous to check the actual stall, so he sends a picture to his coworker. After he sent the picture, he eventually leaves the bathroom, but then gets a text where his coworker says, "Keep your weapon drawn and call for backup." He had no idea what he was talking about until he increased the brightness of this picture. It's not easy to see in the dark, but with the photo enhanced and slightly brightened, you can see somebody peeking over the top of that middle stall. Someone was in there, looking directly at him as he searched the bathroom. But even with a visual, by the time backup eventually came, whoever this was, they were gone, and we were left with this picture. And if you're loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
We got in the dark.
There's so many flies in there. This abandoned house, and there's just flies. We wanted to go inside, but now we're scared to go inside. They're in every single window, and they're like alive. But you see that up there? You see all the flies?
Something in there.
What is this? They're like blankets and clothes. Mineral spirits?
Call the cops.
Breaking news, a man who had been missing since Friday was found deceased inside of a Planet Fitness tanning bed. Authorities said his aunt reported him missing on Friday, and she said he was wearing an ankle monitor that helped investigators determine that he never left the gym. A woman who was at Planet Fitness that morning before law enforcement showed up said that she and other members noticed a foul smell in the building that got worse near the tanning rooms. She said the tanning bed has a door, I believe, but still, why are we not concerned that the tanning bed has been closed for 3 days potentially? Since the incident, they put a sign on the door saying tanning is currently unavailable, but the rest of the gym is in full use. When they reached out to Planet Fitness for a comment, they said they could only confirm they were investigating a death at the location and they didn't elaborate on the circumstances. He said it's a local franchise and they're going to look into what happened with the franchise owner. Man's family called him a loving person, and they said they hope to see stricter policies on cleaning and end-of-day checklists for staff to prevent this from happening again. Let me know what you guys think about this, but rest in peace to this poor man, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
I just realized, like, boy, it shouldn't have took like 2 days for them to, like, I guess, to check on the tanning bed room. Like, they freaking smelled that foul smell, but then nobody checked on it. That has me asking some questions. Like, there's no way, man. 2 days, nobody checked the tanning bed room, and then to hear that it's still in use, man. These companies, bro, all they care about is money. You have to shut that whole place down. Who even want to go there after hearing that?
Let's talk about one of the most craziest documented mermaid cases in history. When I tell y'all this whole thing is wild because it's actually documented. Now this took place in the Kai Islands during 1943 during World War II. And basically these Japanese soldiers were stationed with a surveillance team in this small remote island in Indonesia, which is known as the Kai Islands, and they reported seeing some strange stuff, y'all. And every time they seen these creatures, it was near the water. And these are Japanese soldiers we're talking about, y'all. And they were saying that they were seeing these mer-like beings around 150 centimeters tall and having like a pinkish skin, as well as like prominent spines on their heads. But they said, unlike the classical mermaids, they didn't have fishtails. And it was also stated that they had like rows of like these sharp, catty-like teeth. And the soldiers said that the faces was not cute at all, not like the mermaids we're used to. They had like human-like, ape-like features and spines along the neck and a lipless mouth with tiny little sharp teeth and shoulder-length hair. Basically, like the Japanese soldiers was like asking the locals and the indigenous people of the Kai Islands, like, what is this? Like, what is going on? Is this normal? And they were very familiar with these creatures, and excuse me if I pronounced it wrong, but they called them Irangi Khan or something like that, which basically means manfish or mermaid. So these Japanese soldiers think they were tripping, but this whole time the people already knew about it and they live amongst them, like they're just used to it at this point. And they've been spotting them all over the beaches and the lagoons for years. And it was one night, one of the soldiers was on the beach at night and he thought it was a child, but he was like, that's weird for a child to be, you know, out here by himself on the beach. Until the creature turned around and he could see in the moonlight the facial features. And when the creature basically noticed that the soldier was watching the whole time, he turned around and looked at him and just dived right in the water and did not resurface ever. So these soldiers were just so scared and like basically being harassed by these creatures to the point where they told their sergeant. So the sergeant went and spoke with basically like the chief or the leader of the Kai Islands at the time. Okay. And he told him that, you know, this is normal. But if we catch one, you know, over the years we'll, you know, one will wash up or we'll, you know, make a mistake and catch one in its nets. But it was like, if we catch one, we will, you know, let you know and you can come see it. And they did. So they basically called the sergeant and he went to see this creature and he was in shambles. I'm talking about flabbergasted. Like he was in complete shock, like at what he was seeing. Like, this is a whole mermaid creature in front of me. And these people are used to this. Like, they just casually caught this on a good old random Friday. Mm-hmm. So whenever the sergeant went back to, you know, where their designated area back in Japan or wherever they were, he was basically telling the people, the government and just like the people in the military, everything that was going on,
scientist. He was like, saying basically, y'all need to go research what's going on over there. This is not normal. But people really laughed at him and pushed it to the side because it didn't help that he didn't have any actual evidence or any pictures of it. So they really like was not studying him, and it actually kind of like made his reputation, because you know he's a respected sergeant in the military, the Japanese military at that, and you up here coming up me telling me about these mermaid stories. But this whole case was wild. This is actually a real documented case. You can search it up and everything. Like, these people were real life seeing mermaids, and the people that lived there, the indigenous people that lived there, was just used to it. They don't bother us, we don't bother them. Simple. But let me know what y'all think about this crazy mermaid story, because this is actually very true and very wild. And don't forget to stay tuned for more of my mermaid tales from across the globe.
Sounded like sirens to me.
Never take the bus alone. It could save your life. A 17-year-old boy was on his way home from the gym and decided to take the bus. The boy unfortunately missed the first bus, so he had to wait for the second one, and it was getting pretty late. The boy was just hanging out in that little bus shelter until a man with thick clothing started walking awkwardly towards him. The boy felt pretty creeped out, but decided to just focus on his phone and hope he would walk away. But then the man took a seat right next to the boy and reached his arm out to grab him. The boy grabbed his backpack and ran as fast as he could to the next stop. He thought he was safe until he saw that same man's face pressed up against the window of the bus shelter. The deranged man lunged at him again but missed and fell to the floor. There was blood pouring out of his face, and the boy called 911. The cops explained to the boy that the man was on prescription drugs. And upon looking through the man's wallet, they found a picture of the man's son, which looked just like the boy.
Be careful at them bus stops, man. The weirdos out there.
If you're alone right now, don't watch this video. In the winter of 2018, a man who was living alone in the mountains wakes up to find a red ball sitting on his front yard. He assumed the only neighbor he had must have kids, and so he kicks the ball over the fence, goes inside, doesn't think anything of it. That night, he wakes up to the sound of kids laughing outside of his window. He goes outside to check on them because it's the middle of the night, and there's no kids anywhere, but that red ball is back on his property. So he picks it up, brings it in his house, and goes back to bed. The next morning, he goes over to his neighbor's house to let them know that their kids were out in his yard in the middle of the night. But it turns out his neighbor is just some old man who lives alone, and there aren't any kids anywhere in the area. That night, he wakes up again to the sound of kids on his property, and when he looks outside, there's no kids, but that red ball is back on his property. Panicked, he runs downstairs to make sure the one he brought in is still inside, and it's gone. He checked every window and door, and everything was still locked. It didn't make any sense. He decides to look out the window one more time, and off in the distance is some weird, stiff figure watching him.
Is he hallucinating?
This is one of the world's most haunted dolls, Okiku. Said to be so haunted that if you even glance at this doll, you could become cursed. Now, the story surrounding this doll is actually terrifying. Back in the 1918s, Okiku was purchased in Japan for a man's younger sister. Tragically, after a year of owning this doll, the little girl passed away from the flu. The family then decided to create a shrine for her, placing the large doll inside of it as a display. Now, originally, this doll had a short bob-cut haircut. And only a few weeks after being placed inside of the shrine, the doll's hair grew, way past her shoulders. And in the 1930s, the family moved away. The doll was then given to a museum, where her hair continues to grow to this day. Up next is a doll
Really?
Lily. It was made in the 1980s with real human hair. After seeing a Facebook post, Zach Bagans decided he wanted to try out this doll and see what it was all about. The terrifying thing is the last person that did this had massive nightmares and ended up getting into a tragic accident. It's also said that this doll talks, not in a normal, sweet doll voice, in a very deep and demonic tone. Now, this doll, Lily, currently resides at the Zach Bagans Museum, which is probably a good thing because most people probably shouldn't be around this doll, due to the fact that it's made with human hair. It's caused mass tragedies, on top of it being so haunted that it can literally manipulate your nightmares. I'm good on all the dolls.
This is why you should
Me
always
too.
keep your phone charged. A girl named Marissa came home from school at around 3 p.m. She walked in the door and told her mom that some random number kept calling her all day. Her mom told her the person may have the wrong number and just to ignore it. Marissa said okay and begins to do her homework. A couple hours later, she receives a phone call from the same number. Marissa answers it this time and says, "Hello?" The man then says, "We finally found you. Don't worry, bunny." Marissa begins to panic and tells her mom what just happened. Her mom's face goes blank and says, "What did the man just call you?" Marissa says, "He called me bunny." Her mom yells and says, "Grab your stuff, we need to leave." Marissa, confused, packs her things and gets into the red car. Her mom begins driving fast and turns on the radio. The radio says, "The baby named Marissa who was kidnapped in the hospital 10 years ago has been found and police are searching for a red car." Marissa looks at the woman and says, "Who are you?" The woman looks back and says, "You can call me mommy."
So she was kidnapped as a kid. And then she tried to check her on the run. Okay. It's a good thing, like you said. That's why you always better Keep your phone
Crazy
charged.
history you were not taught in school. Deep within the earth lies the remains of a planet that crashed into us billions of years ago. Muammar Gaddafi submitted a proposal to the UN suggesting that Switzerland be merged into Germany, Italy, and France. A shipwreck from 1773 was found just 7 feet under the World Trade Center's foundation during the cleanup aftermath of 9/11. Genghis Khan caused so much devastation that the vegetation regrowth from the lands he conquered led to a notable decrease in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This man ran a mile in under 4 minutes during a time where it was believed if you did that, your heart would explode. But now today, thousands of people have done it. George Washington's favorite food was hoe cakes, which was a type of pancake that was made out of cornbread. Alexander the Great conquered the known world, but never attempted to attack Sparta. Actual knights fought in World War I. Napoleon never exhibited any signs of PTSD despite being engaged in warfare for over 2 decades.
With today being St.
Oh, so that means he was about it, bro. Or 2 decades and no signs of PTSD? I guess Napoleon loved being in the trenches, bro.
Tuesday, here's 3 ways to survive the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movies. Number 1, don't go anywhere near his gold. It sounds easy, I know, but my boy is obsessed with gold, and he'll do absolutely anything to get it, including unaliving you. So if for some reason you see a massive pot of gold on the side of the road, just keep driving. Don't even look at it for too long, because if he assumes that you're going to try and steal his gold, you're cooked. Number 2, if you see a rainbow, do not follow it, because what's at the end of a rainbow? A massive pot of gold. And who's also following that rainbow trying to get that massive bag, that massive pot of gold? The Leprechaun. So if you follow that rainbow, you're gonna run directly into it. Yeah, he's small, but he also has magical powers, and as I said before, we'll do absolutely anything to get his gold. And number 3, for some reason if you don't listen to any of my other rules, just listen to this. If you have a 4-leaf clover, it will completely take over his body and not allow him to then use his magical power. That is the only thing that can save you from the Leprechaun. Yes, he's small, and probably pretty slow because his legs are small, but if you don't have a 4-leaf clover, his magical powers can hit you if you're running. So the only way to really defeat the Leprechaun is by having a 4-leaf clover. But to be honest, I don't know why you would go out of your way to even outsource the Leprechaun and try to go one-on-one against him anyway. Like and follow for more.
You're cooked if you don't have it.
Part 471. A 71-year-old man from Africa has lived in total isolation for 55 years to stay away from women. At the age of 16, he locked himself into a home secured by a 15-foot fence to avoid any possible interactions with females. He reportedly suffers from gynophobia, an irrational fear of women. A 26-year-old monk from the UK has died after traveling to Turkey for a Brazilian butt lift. The official cause of death was a fat embolism after some of the injected fat apparently entered her bloodstream. Many health professionals consider BBLs to be barbaric procedures because of the significant health risks associated with them that are seldom discussed. In July of 1518, a French woman ran from her house and started dancing fervently in the street. Within a week, a few dozen others had joined her, and by the next month, hundreds fell victim to this dancing plague. They danced completely uncontrollably and seemingly without reason, often for days on end, until they collapsed from exhaustion or even died from heart attacks or strokes. Up to 400 people in total died before the phenomenon suddenly stopped. It's widely believed that the dancing plague was caused by stress-induced hysteria or poisoning from a wheat fungus called ergot.
The longest things in the world. Longest English word. Pneumonic ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. Longest YouTube video, 596 hours. Longest song, Rise and Fall of Bossa Nova, 13 hours long. Longest film, Logistics, over 35 days long. Longest day of 2021, Monday the 21st of June.
If you're ever attacked by a chimpanzee, here's what you need to do to survive. Rule number 1, remember that you're probably gonna die. You see, chimps share around 98% of human DNA, meaning that they're very smart, but also more aggressive. They're like humans, but with less empathy, and we barely have any to begin with. Chimps are reported to be 2 to 4 times stronger than humans and look like you would if you had stuck to your New Year's resolution. And now for some actual advice. Rule number 1, do not punch them. Chimps are so aggressive that they love to attack and tear off human faces, hands, and genitals. So unless you want to get your hands torn off like Captain Hook, try throwing an object or kicking if you can. But that probably won't work anyway, and your best bet is swimming away. Chimps have super low body fat, so they're pretty bad at swimming. So you better Michael Phelps your way out of there, and if you can't find a nearby river, make sure you tell Iron Man that I say hi.
Okay. Stay away from chimps, man. That means
Crazy
expert
things
level.
happening in the world right now. Chick-fil-A is the #1 preferred first date spot for American men according to a new survey. The top 5 spots are all actually fast food. The same survey said that 66% of women would prefer having a first date at a McDonald's. Doctors are now warning to not sit on the toilet for longer than 10 minutes. 5 of the top firms in the Plastic Pollution Alliance made 1,000 times more plastic than they cleaned up. A new AI tool was built to sound like an elderly grandmother to waste the time of phone scammers. Salesforce is hiring 1,000 salespeople to sell AI tools that replace salespeople. The first known emperor penguin to reach Australia was found on a beach. A woman married a man who had forgotten they had broken up after he had gotten a concussion. Yale is now teaching a class on Beyonce's political and cultural impact. A sick man was brought to a bank on his hospital bed to confirm his identity. 2 drug dealers are in jail for 12 years after losing their bag of drugs on a train and then reporting it missing.
Let's talk.
I want to talk about those freaking date facts, man. I did not know they said for the most #1 spot for American men was Chick-fil-A, but that other one was Cap talking about how same woman will want their first date at freaking McDonald's. I haven't met one yet. It's like, yeah, a first date, first link up, we can chill at Mickey D's. Put me on, bro.
About this picture. Now, the picture was captured by Daniel Hill, who was the custodian at Driftville Elementary. If you look to the back of the photo, you can already kind of spot that something is very off. What the custodian had thought was maybe a student who had stayed after school and was trying to prank him in the dark turned out to be something much worse. Daniel Hill was attacked in that hallway and did not survive the attack, with his body being found the following morning by a student. It is described to be found on the floor with lacerations so severe he no longer had eyes and his nose was missing. So police eventually turned back to the final photo that was taken on his phone to try to enhance it to figure out who would have done this. This was about the clearest version that they could make of that photo, and the man seen here was never found, and his motive towards Daniel was never known.
I look like a damn monster.
The brutal attack of Travis the chimp. Travis was a 200-pound male chimpanzee that appeared in many movies and TV shows. But on February 16th, 2009, Travis finally snapped. The woman that you heard on the phone was Sandra Harold, the chimp's owner. And the woman being attacked was Charla Nash, one of Sandra's friends. Sandra tried to save her friend by bashing the chimp with a shovel and stabbing him in the back with a butcher knife, but that only made him more angry. Travis ripped off Charla's eyelids and tore off her nose. The chimp then scalped her, gouged out, and ate her eyeballs before chewing off her hand. Shortly after, the police showed up and executed Travis by gunfire.
That's insane, man. People need to stop keeping wild animals as pets. It never ends well, man, from these clips I've watched together with you guys.
Remember that time a man-eating camel terrorized a town in Arizona? Crazy, right? It was a villain out of Courage the Cowardly Dog, and it started with the government. You see, they realized the hump jockey's a way better desert option than horses, and when the U.S. was trying to make like Bianca Censori and head west, well, that started the Camel Corps, where America thought it was a good idea to weaponize the dromedary variety. It got abandoned, and the camels were auctioned off. Some ended up in zoos, and some were straight up roughing it in the American Southwest. The story goes, one day in 1883, a mysterious beast murked a rancher's wife. An eyewitness described it as a giant, tall, red-looking beast with a demon riding shotgun. Speaking of shotgun, after several sightings and one incident where it nearly erased the cowboy that had lassoed it, they decided it was time to bear arms before things got grisly. 5 men took a shot and none of them hit, but by the pure power of plot armor, one of them managed to knock something off. But when they went to investigate, it was a skull. A fresh human skull that still had some hair on it. For the next several years, there were stories of this homicidal red quadruped hoovering a headless demon attacking people, which actually is a Courage episode now that I think about it. The story spread until one day farmer Mizzou Hastings looked outside and saw the steed of Satan eating out of his yard. He one-shot it and realized not only was this mysterious beast one of the leftover camels from the failed Camel Corps, there was a life-deprived former human strapped to the camel, so tight that it actually scarred the body. To this day, we have no clue how that man past tense, what he was doing to get stuck there, or how long the camel was carrying a decapitated, decomposing was on his back, but some say it could have been up to a decade. The more you know, ain't you glad you asked?
These are scary
10 years?
in each state, part 4. Up first is La Mala Ora. La Mala Ora is located in New Mexico and is a very scary and dangerous demonic spirit. She walks around lonely roads after midnight and terrorizes those who travel alone. People who have seen her say she appears as a large black lump, constantly moving and changing shape. But the scariest part about La Mala Ora is that anyone who lays eyes on her will be driven completely insane. She tries to hypnotize and paralyze anyone who encounters her. Some people even believe the devil himself is scared of La Mala Ora. People who live in New Mexico also say that she really never appears in human form. But if she does, it means somebody you know or yourself is going to die soon. So if you live in New Mexico, I feel bad for you.
Stay away from Lamala Aura. I'll avoid that in New Mexico.
Part 441. While working in his garage in 2012, Chicago man Dante Autolo accidentally shot a 3-inch nail directly into his skull. But he had no idea the nail had entered his brain until he started feeling nauseous 36 hours later, and a dozen doctors were completely stunned when they saw his x-rays. The nail was surgically removed, and Dante miraculously made a full recovery.
Let's just say they extend the lives, dude.
It's really not looking good for him, is it? Mr. Diddler, we all know him. He was in the headlines massively a few months ago when all of the stuff was breaking out. We had all the logs leaked of the alleged celebrities that were attending these parties, along with many other things happening. Now though, you probably know this guy, Luigi Mangione, who has been a massive talking point for the last few weeks. I'm sure everybody knows what he did, and there's been a lot of devise on social media, so a lot of people supporting him, a lot of people not supporting him, obviously. But Diddy, he's not happy, you see. He's really not happy. He said, and I quote, "It's not fair I'm getting so much hate while in the locker, while Luigi is getting a load of love and praise." I'm sorry. Essentially, he said that he is innocent, there's a lot of people that know he's innocent, so why isn't he getting a load of love and attention while inside? But he gets crazy, he said he is literally raging at this, so he's really not happy, as far as actually throwing temper tantrums in the jail because he's getting a lot of attention. I don't even know what to say, to be honest, but yeah, know your thoughts, and as always, I'll keep you updated.
Who cares if you're getting more attention, man? Y'all both in jail. Doesn't make a difference anyway. The outcome's gonna be the same. Diddy worry about the wrong things, man.
Well, that country is not Egypt. It's Iran.
Hello, my friend. I wouldn't say Iran is the oldest country in the world, but that itself is quite a strange claim to make. What do we mean when we say the oldest country? Is it when the modern concept of a nation-state was established? Is it the length in time a political identity has held power over a region? Or is it simply how long a region has maintained a certain name? The oldest country is usually determined based on one of these interpretations. For example, some argue that Egypt, with its ancient civilizations dating back over 5,000 years, is the oldest. However, this is based on the continuity of the region's historical identity rather than its modern statehood. Others point to China, citing the unbroken lineage of dynasties and cultural continuity. Yet again, this reflects a cultural or civilizational perspective rather than a political one. When it comes to the idea of modern nation-states, countries like France and England, which established centralized governments and national identities in the medieval period, often enter the discussion. As for Iran, its claim stems from the Achaemenid Empire founded by Cyrus the Great in 550 BC. I think the region's cultural and political identity has remained remarkably consistent over those many centuries, surviving invasions, dynastic changes, and modern shifts. But the truth is, defining the oldest country depends entirely on how we interpret history. Is it the continuity of culture, the endurance of a name, or the longevity of a political system? Each perspective brings its own answer to the question.
Saving orphan children from being exploited. Final Vow is one of those movies that is going to leave you at the edge of your seat. Sister Anne Marie works at an orphanage in Mexico, and one day out of the blue, a 15-year-old girl gets adopted. She immediately becomes suspicious, and she is convinced that the couple that adopted the young girl is going to do something sinister. Her suspicions are correct, and she will stop at nothing to make sure that that young girl is saved along with many others. Final Vow shows the scary reality of what is going on in this world and how easily vulnerable children can be sold and exploited. On the film's website, there is an AI feature, and you can chat with the cast to answer any kind of questions you may have and learn more about the film. If you're like me and always has a bunch of unanswered questions, then this feature is going to be really fun for you. Make sure to check out Final Vow on https://finalvow.com, and once you watch it, comment down below and let me know what you think.
Guaranteed that the end of this video is going to shock you. There was a young girl who had trouble making friends because her mom wouldn't let her play with the other kids in the neighborhood. One day, the mom left to go to the store, so she snuck outside of the house. She grabbed her teddy bear and went outside, but still, none of the kids wanted to play with her. Eventually, a strange-looking boy approached her and said that he wanted to be her friend. The little girl was thrilled to finally have a friend her age, and he eventually asked if she wanted to come to his house to play. When they arrived, the little girl was confused, because the house appeared to be abandoned like no one had been in there for years. They walked into his garden, and immediately the girl threw up. She asked him for some water, and he just smiled at her creepily and said, You're going to sleep here sometime soon. Weeks later, the girl went looking for him and he was nowhere to be found. Soon, a paper airplane flew to her and it was a newspaper clipping. She opened it up to find that the boy she'd been playing with went missing 9 years ago.
So it was a ghost or something?
This is one of the strangest unsolved mysteries of all time. In 1952, 9 Russian hikers who were all super experienced set off into the Ural Mountains. However, the path that they chose to take on the hike was pretty hard, even for hikers as experienced as them. And to make things worse, they ran into a severe snowstorm that night. So all 9 of the hikers decided to set up their tents and try and wait out the storm. However, at some point during that night, the hikers cut open their tents from the inside and set off into the snowstorm. All 9 of them began to head towards some trees that were nearby their campsite. And this is where the story gets really creepy. A few days later, 3 of the 9 campers were found dead in the trees. And at the base of these trees, there were a bunch of claw marks and scratches on the trunks. And the 6 other hikers were also all found dead scattered around the area. And upon testing them, their skin and clothes appeared to be radioactive.
Remember this man who claimed to be Diddy's sex slave and no one believed him?
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he masturbated, telling me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with people and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay?
His name's Jonathan Audie, and allegedly he signed an NDA in exchange for $5 million in 2014. Now, how do we know this? This photo of this NDA was made public recently, and it has Sean Combs and Jonathan Audie's signature. So Jonathan was a well-known entertainer and later became a porn star, and he met Diddy sometime around 2014 at a party at the ultra-exclusive Star Island in Miami Beach. Jonathan had some crazy claims, but he said that he was forced to sleep with Cassie and others while Diddy watched and filmed. And to further corroborate this claim, at the time, Jonathan was married to a woman named Tanya Troutwine, who actually came forward the other day and confirmed that not long after Jonathan met Diddy, he asked her for a divorce. Tanya said that Jonathan was extremely pushy to finalize the divorce, and not even a month later after meeting Diddy, he purchased 5 properties mortgage-free, yet he only made $2,000 a month. So where did he get all this sudden cash? So that's definitely something to question, and now with Diddy's trial coming up, I'm genuinely curious to see if Jonathan would be testifying against him.
Only 3% of people can do this. You need to put your hand flat on the wall and bend your pinky finger back without moving any of your other fingers. So the real question is, are you in this 3%?
I am. I can do that easy. Are you in the 3%, Seekers? Test it out.
Strangest unsolved mysteries in every U.S. state. Part 23, Colorado. In 1990, a man named Steve Lee moved his family into his dream house in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The house was in the middle of nowhere and was surrounded by a dark, dense forest. Just a week after they moved in, Steve and his family began to see strange, shadowy figures moving along the walls of the house at night. They began to hear quiet whispers, footsteps, and rattling chains all around their home. Even crazier, the family's electronics and lights began to flicker on and off randomly. Steve was afraid that people were breaking into his home at night, so he bought motion detectors and placed them all around his house. However, the motion detectors began detecting motion literally everywhere, even when there clearly wasn't anyone there. Steve thought the motion detectors were malfunctioning, so he placed cameras all around the house instead. They began to capture strange orbs of light floating around the house at night, and even ghost faces on walls and windows. Somehow, the family still lives in that same exact house to this very day, and they still experience the same strange occurrences every single night.
They need to move out. I don't know why they still there.
Here's the truth behind Winnie the Pooh. All of the characters in Winnie the Pooh represent a different mental disorder. Winnie represents an eating disorder, which is why he eats so much honey. Eeyore represents depression, which is why he's sad all the time. Tigger represents ADHD, it's the reason why he can never stay still. Christopher Robin represents schizophrenia because all of the animals in the show are actually just in his head. Piglet represents anxiety, this is why she is always nervous. The rabbit represents OCD because he is obsessed with order. The owl represents narcissism, this is the reason why he thinks he is wiser than everybody else. And Rue represents autism, this is why she is always confused.
On Wednesday morning
Really?
at 2:17 a.m., 17 children from the same classroom at Maybrook Elementary School went missing at the same time. They got out of their beds, opened their front door, and ran out. Their parents were convinced that their teacher was involved in their disappearance. But after paying close attention to their Ring cameras, they realized something more sinister was going on. But if you want to know what happens next, you need to go watch the movie Weapons. I went to the screening, and hands down, it's one of the best horror movies I've seen this year. Weapons has such an interesting storyline, and I usually don't get scared from horror movies, but this time was different. Not to mention, it's starring Julia Gardner, which made me so much more eager to go watch it. Also, Warner Bros. Really went all out because we were taken on a whole field trip right before we watched the movie, and we were kind of scared because we didn't know what to expect. Like, where was the school bus taking us? This entire experience really hyped up the movie for us, and it did not disappoint. Weapons is finally out in theaters today, and if you go and watch it, let me know.
Did any of the Secret see Weapons? I heard it was a horror movie, but I heard it was more of like a thriller.
These people were literally just sat on a Zoom call until everyone they knew started dying. Ever seen a horror movie that just makes you feel sick, that you can't stop thinking about it for days? Well, these are the ones you need to see in under 60 seconds, and no spoilers. You've probably no doubt seen scenes from The Grudge. Pretty terrifying film, but nothing compared to Ju-on The Grudge. This is the original, and it is absolutely horrifying. Same as in the popular remake, this woman goes and stays at a house, and then, well, there's a spirit that inhabits this house, and horrendous stuff starts happening, but it follows more on the side of this boy who, like, meows. A group of friends decide to go on a caving expedition. Doesn't sound like a great idea. They go right down and descend into these caves where no one has been before, but wait, there's definitely people in there. This has probably the biggest jump scare I've ever seen in my life, well, multiple of them, and is just genuinely horrifying. Wait till they pull out the camcorder. This film was filmed completely on a Zoom call, which is crazy. Essentially, this group of friends get together one evening on a Zoom call in lockdown to basically speak to this psychic woman, and they're trying to contact people in the afterlife and prove to each other that paranormal life does exist. And, well, it definitely does. And, yeah, what happens next is crazy. The ending of this film, I don't think I've ever jumped so much in my life.
This boy survived one of the most brutal cartel attacks ever. It was a normal morning on November 4th, 2019, when 3 SUVs carrying mothers and children from a quiet Mormon community in Mexico unknowingly drove straight into cartel territory. Then, without warning, hell broke loose. Bullets began raining down from the hills. High-caliber rounds tore through metal and flesh as the convoy was ambushed by cartel gunmen, likely mistaking them for rivals. One vehicle was lit on fire with 5 family members still trapped inside, the air filled with screams, smoke, and the stench of burning bodies. In one of the SUVs, 13-year-old Devin Langford sat frozen as his mother was shot dead beside him. His younger brothers took bullets, blood pooled around his feet, but Devin didn't break. With ears ringing and his body trembling, he pulled 6 surviving siblings from the wreckage. Some were injured and one had a bullet in the chest. Devin dragged them into the brush, covering them with branches and whispering to them not to cry. Terrified the cartel members would come back to finish the job. Then he made an unthinkable choice. Alone and without food or shoes, he walked nearly 14 miles through cartel-infested desert. He did this to go get help, and hours later, rescuers found his 9-year-old sister barefoot and bleeding, still trying to save the others. Devin's heroic actions saved the lives of all of his siblings.
He co-founded a MAGA-themed fast food chain. Now he's facing deportation. Lebanese immigrant Roland Bainey has built 4 locations of Trump Burger in Texas. The restaurant serves everything from the Trump Tower Burger to the Melania Crispy Chicken, complete with Trump family impersonators. But Bainey is now under federal investigation after being accused of immigration fraud. Homeland Security says he faked a sham marriage to get his green card. Immigration officials reportedly found no lease, no shared accounts, no proof the couple ever lived together, and have already notified him that his green card is being revoked. He's due in immigration court in November, where he could be formally ordered to leave the country.
Let's talk about a fishing horror game where you have to pay off a debt you owe to a shark, but there's something else under the water with you. Yes, this is a fishing horror game, and it's called Lone Shark. Full playthrough of the entire game on my channel. The story here is actually really good. We're on a ship called the Vita Nova, and we owe 100,000 euros to a shark. That loan was how we got the boat in the first place, and now we have to get all of that debt by tonight. So we fish and fish and fish. But the problem is the fish we're catching are barely worth anything. The night ends in an hour. There's no way we can get the money in time.
time. But everything changes when we catch the talking fish Cagliuso. This guy gives us one of his special eyes to use as a lure. And with that lure, we catch golden fish. And they are worth a ton of money. As we fish, we keep hearing strange things under the water. And Cagliuso keeps referring to an associate he knows. There's something else going on here. Are we being tricked? I won't spoil the story after that point. You can check out my playthrough if you want. But this game really is a terrifying depiction of how debt can spiral out of control.
This girl was held captive by her family for 25 years. Blanche Monnier came from an esteemed family and seemed destined for a life of privilege. But when she fell in love with a man her family deemed unsuitable, a modest lawyer, her mother reacted with fury. Determined to stop the relationship, she took an unthinkable step to ensure Blanche would never marry. Blanche vanished without a trace, and for 25 long years, her fate remained a mystery. In truth, she had been secretly imprisoned by her own family in a small dark room of their home. With the shutters nailed shut and no access to sunlight or fresh air, Blanche was left in squalor, her basic needs ignored. She lived in silence and filth, confined to the same bed day and night while the family lied to the outside world, claiming she had moved abroad and entered a coven. Friends and society had no reason to suspect anything more sinister. However, it wasn't until May 23, 1901 when an anonymous letter reached the authorities in Paris that the horrifying secret was finally exposed. Police raided the home and discovered Blanche, now a skeletal, broken woman lying in darkness, her condition appalling. Blanche weighed only 55 pounds when she was found. Her mother was immediately arrested and the case sent shockwaves through France.
When I tell you this is the worst septicanophobia thing I've ever seen in my entire life, I'm not joking. This is actually the worst thing I've ever seen, and it is a massive, life-sized orca with a seal in its mouth that is completely submerged, and it comes out of the water on a dark ride, and it goes all the way back down, completely submerged again. And if you know me, you know I have a massive phobia of orcas, and I've shown this in a video in the past, and I just needed to re-traumatize y'all and make y'all understand that this is the scariest thing in the entire world to me. It is in Australia at the Kelly Tarletons, and guess what? It's abandoned now. Yeah, and it is still visible through a hole in the wall where it was abandoned in 2012. And here's a photo of it visible through the wall with all the dust on it, and oh my god, this photo is actually the worst thing and has banned all of my boozles, and I have difficulty even looking at it.
Really?
Call me a snowflake all you want, I don't care. This is the scariest thing in the entire world to me with my huge orcaphobia, and I just can't handle this. No. Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking, and would you ever go on this ride back when it was operational? Oh my god.
Let's check it out. Where is it? About to come up? I'm cool with it. Looks like a jump scare though. Comes up out of nowhere. What's up with these abandoned parks?
Talking about the woman in Florida who was posing as a nurse for 2 years, and she serviced 4,500 patients. Granted, she's been arrested, but I was thinking to myself, how is this even possible? Like, surely there's some verification system when hiring a medical professional, right? From what I understood, she took her nursing exam, did not pass, so then when it came time for her to apply and she had to provide like a nursing number, something to prove that she was an actual nurse, she provided one for a different woman, a nurse who had her first name but not her last name. She's been arrested. She's gonna face something like 14 different felony charges for this, but I'm also questioning, I'm like, she's definitely at fault for lying, but is the hospital also not at fault? The nurses and attorneys, please weigh in on this one. I'm very confused.
Me too. Why is it red? Another seat turning red, that's a bad sign.
So Sydney Sweeney is allegedly costing American Eagle a lot of money. And this came from the blinds of apparently what American Eagle execs are saying behind closed doors, so I'm gonna get into it. Everybody's well aware of the American Eagle campaign that Sydney Sweeney did that was not well received. A lot of people criticizing it, including some celebrities, of saying that it had this bizarre subtext and undertone of
genetic supremacy. And I do want to hear where you stand on this, but I'm more curious to hear about how you feel about the blind item. So the story that's allegedly getting buried here from all the bad press is that her endorsement did absolutely nothing for sales or even traffic or clicks to the website. Apparently execs are fuming because they assumed that her name and endorsement would equate to influence for the brand. Rumor has it American Eagle may have paid her upwards of 7 figures for the campaign.
Here are some photos taken right before...
I don't know if there's conflicting stories or not, but I don't know. I heard that... I just heard a different story. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what's going on with that whole ordeal.
For Disaster, Part 3. Here is the last photo ever taken of Paul Walker. It shows him climbing into the car that eventually crashed, taking him and the driver's lives back in 2013. Craziest part is, Paul Walker wasn't even the one driving. The guy driving was a professional race car driver. And the saddest part is that all this happened at a charity event that Paul Walker was hosting. RIP. This photo was taken right before the Homage bombing. The red car in this photograph right here contained a bomb that killed 29 people and injured some 220 others. Surprisingly, the man and child both survived, but the photographer didn't.
Where we at night, man? You know, some nighttime vibes?
Have you ever heard about the urban legend of the Japanese kappa? We're going to be talking about it today, and here's an animatronic of one in water. So the Japanese kappa is a water monster that has like a little bump on its head, which we'll get to that in a moment. But this thing that looks like an egg, you know what that is? That is your soul that it sucks out through your butt.
What?
Yeah, these Japanese water demons, they will suck your soul out of your butt, which is super interesting and also terrifying. This is one in a little tank, and that is super creepy, by the way. The little bump on the top of his head has to be kept wet at all times, otherwise the kappa can apparently like cease to exist. So interesting. I was born with something called aplasia cutis. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a bump on the top of my head. It looks just like the Japanese kappa. And I sent it to my mom one time and I was like, bro, I just realized with my bald spot I look like a Japanese kappa. Google it. And she said, you do resemble him. Thanks, Mom. Here's another depiction of one, and apparently in Japan, you know how like sometimes parents will like scare their kids about like the boogeyman or like tell like tall tales and things like that.
Yeah.
In Japan, in order to keep their children from drowning and like keeping them near like large bodies of water, they will be like, do not go near that. There's a kappa in there. They don't say Japanese kappa, but they're like, there's a kappa in there and it'll get you. And then so the kids don't go near there so that they don't drown. Super interesting. I always love hearing about stuff like that. But yeah, like culturally, apparently they like to mess with kids. Here's one in a human in like a kappa suit, like traumatizing little children. And that's horrible. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of like submechanophobia of the Japanese kappa in Japan. And watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. And I do not like this. Here's one of the animatronics with the person so you can see just how big it is in that water.
I just can't believe they said they take your soul through the butt. What the heck?
Here are some unexplainable photos, Part 2. In August of the year 1997, members of the Russell family visited their grandmother in the home where she was living. They were later surprised to discover that in the background of this photo they took of her, their grandfather appeared behind her, but he had died 3 years earlier. Nicknamed the Black Knight, this mysterious space-like object right here has been spotted following an unusual polar orbit. When the drama of John F. Kennedy's assassination unfolded in Dallas, November 22nd, 1963, this unknown woman right here was there and filmed the whole thing. But the FBI was never able to locate her. Why was she recording everything and where did she go? This photo shows British war workers escape to the seaside. This photo was taken in September 1943. But in the middle of the photo right here, this guy looks like he's on a cell phone. Pretty cool.
Time travel confirmed? Oh, that was a different device.
Most dangerous countries in the world. Syria. Crime index 69.1.
USA about to be first, isn't it?
Trinidad and Tobago. Crime index 70.8.
Keeps increasing.
Honduras. Crime index 72.7. South Africa. Crime Index 74.8. Afghanistan. Crime Index 75.7. Haiti. Crime Index 78.7.
3 signs that you might be a genius. 1. You're sarcastic. People that are sarcastic are usually clever and quick-witted. This is because being sarcastic requires you to think on your feet. Number 2, staying up late. If this is you at 3 AM, there's a high chance that you're smarter than the average person. So the next time you're tired in class, just show this video to your teacher. And finally, at number 3, you have messy handwriting. Studies have proven that people have messy handwriting because their brains work faster than their hands. Now everyone take a minute to tag someone or share this with someone that needs to hear it.
Okay, I'm number 2, and I got sarcasm down as well. I got 2 out of the 3, man. So
there's this fake nurse in Florida that treated 4,400 patients without a license at all. Here she is getting arrested in the car. She got arrested on Tuesday. This went on from July of 2023 up until literally Tuesday. How did she get away with posing as a registered nurse? Let's talk about how this happened. So she was working as an advanced nursing assistant, right? So she was working under the supervision of an RN. Eventually she would go on to lie at the hospital saying, you know, she was about to take her board exam. She hadn't passed it yet, but she was, you know, right around the corner about to take it. She gave them a licensing number that led to her first name, but not her last name. So she made up the story that she recently got married. That's why it didn't change yet. They requested the marriage record. She never provided it. She got their promotion anyways, and that's how she treated patients for 2 years. Now, this is a complete disregard of credentials by the hospital system and also her too. This is so dangerous for patient safety. This hospital should also be held accountable. Thankfully, a nosy employee decided to check her nursing credential status, and when they pulled it up, they found an expired CNA license. She's getting hit with 7 counts of fraud and also 7 counts of, mistreating patients because she didn't have a license to do that in the first place. But I have to emphasize, this also wouldn't be an issue if that certain hospital wasn't so, negligent on maybe doing a little screening and maybe waiting for the credentials to drop before you hire somebody or promote somebody. Either way, I hope her practicing for the last 2-3 years didn't negatively affect any patients or their families. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments about this.
You can die peacefully now.
Insane, truly.
Marshmallow without mask. Chris Comstock. First Instagram photo.
First dog selfie.
A black albino. Grown-up Teletubbies baby son. Ninja Turtle without mask. Vin Diesel with hair.
That looks like cat, bro.
McDonald's being built. Smurf without the hat. Rainbow's End.
Pot of gold at the end.
Places that you can't visit. Brazil. Snake Island.
Okay, Mr. Beast went to that island we saw.
North Sentinel Island.
Heard about that too.
Indonesia. Mount Merapi. Ukraine. Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Atlantic Ocean. The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, we ain't going there.
Japan. Aokigahara Forest. Tanzania. Lake Natron. Ethiopia. Danakil Depression.
What is
Italy. Poveglia Island.
Night. A man was working as a security guard at a warehouse during his night shift, and he began to feel a little creeped out when weird things started going on in the warehouse around him. He was the only one in the warehouse, and it was about 2:30 in the morning. So he brought out his phone in hopes to catch something unexplainable on camera. At first, the video he took seems pretty normal. There's absolutely nothing weird going on. But when he pans over to the food he brought, the apple moves on its own. He goes to reach for his apple, but right when he does this, the cup on his desk seemingly moves on its own. The man is obviously pretty frightened by this and doesn't know how to react. But when he goes to grab the cup, it again moves on its own away from his hand. Many people believe that this is staged, however, it looks pretty real. What do you guys think?
Disturbing facts that will ruin your day. If you live to become the oldest person alive, the entire human population will be replaced in your lifetime, except you. Butterflies have been known to drink blood. Thanks to pregnancy, the average number of skeletons in a human body is greater than 1. Cannibalism is common in hamsters. People who freeze to death are sometimes found naked because as their body heat gets dangerously low, they get the sensation that they are burning hot. Your belly button is just your old mouth. You pass the anniversary of your death every year. Moths will vibrate their genitals as a way to prevent bats from finding them. Follow for more facts.
Really? I never knew that. Weird.
This is amazing, and scientists and doctors could not explain it. On August 6th of 1945, during World War II, an atomic bomb was dropped on the town of Hiroshima, Japan. It flattened buildings for miles in all directions, and tens of thousands of people were killed instantly. But in the midst of the devastation, 8 Jesuit priests from Germany, who were in a home attached to a church, miraculously survived the blast. The church, Our Lady of the Assumption, was one of the only few buildings left standing. The priests sustained only minor injuries from shattered windows. None of them even suffered hearing loss from the explosion. Medical professionals were baffled. They said that they would die from radiation sickness. But 200 medical exams in the following years showed no ill effects. Father Schiffer and the other Jesuit priests who survived were examined and interviewed repeatedly by scientists, medical professionals, and others who couldn't understand how they escaped injury. When Father Schiffer was asked why they believed they were spared when many others died from the explosion or the subsequent radiation, he spoke for himself and his companions and said, "We believe that we survived because we were living the message of Fatima. We lived and prayed the rosary daily in that home."
You think there's no explanation, man, how they could have survived that?
What demon is hiding in you, according to your zodiac sign? Part 1. Leo. You are represented by the demon Mephistopheles. Your proud and arrogant side shines through this intelligent and manipulative demon. You often seek to dominate those around you, pursuing your desires without hesitation. Virgo, you are represented by the demon Astaroth. You can be quite hurtful to others, but that doesn't bother you much. This demon emerges especially when you feel betrayed, leading to deep resentment. Capricorn, you are represented by Beelzebub, the right hand of Satan. This demon makes you see the dark side of things and people. Your relentless thirst for success can sometimes bring you pain and dissatisfaction. Sagittarius, the demon that represents you is Lilith. With your passionate and adventurous spirit, your desire for freedom can occasionally tempt you to seduce and manipulate others. Taurus, you are represented by the demon Mammon. This demon embodies your materialistic tendencies and desire for comfort. Your obsession with wealth and security can sometimes overshadow your relationships. Scorpio, you are represented by the demon Asmodeus. Known for your intense emotions, this demon amplifies your passion and jealousy. Your deep-seated desires can lead to possessiveness and manipulation in relationships. Comment on your sign and follow me for part 2.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other moral sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
Weird. I did not need to do
The
that.
curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 36. Babies bounce. Their bones are so soft that instead of thudding, they actually bounce a little. An Arizona man named Paul Menchaca was arrested after he faked having Down syndrome and hired female caregivers to bathe him and change his dirty diapers. Kids under 5 years old will often try to hide from a fire instead of running, and firefighters find the bodies. Jacqueline Durand was hired to dog sit for a pit bull and German shepherd and was told that they would be in their kennels. However, when she arrived, the dogs immediately attacked her, leaving her with over 800 bite marks. If you want to sell your organs on the dark web, you'll get the most money for your small intestine, worth about $800,000. This sketch shows the autopsy report of Kobe Bryant after he died in a helicopter crash in 2020. If you look closely, you can see they noted a crown tattoo on Kobe's shoulder. Makes the whole thing a lot more real.
Some crazy facts, man.
So this morning I got stalked by a coyote. Keep your eye on the background, and then what happens in a few seconds.
Sound like a dog.
Here's some coyote advice you never asked for from a man who's never had to deal with them. Anyway, y'all know hazing? No, not the college thing. No, hazing is putting the fear of God in a wild animal to factory reset its behavior. Here's an example. Basically, you want to give him PTSD so he doesn't come close to anything human. Basically, your goal is to have him racially profiling anything on two legs. Jokes aside, coyotes are naturally afraid of us. It's when they lose that fear that the trench puppy becomes a problem. And nothing does that faster than when people feed one, even without realizing it. That goes for any animal. But if you bully them on sight, you help them relearn the price of effing around. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as it's with volume and conviction. Obviously, there are exceptions, like if the coyote's hurt, sick, or with kids, and you want to fall back, or else you might have to catch that check. But you got to think about how they see us. Coyotes have been getting generationally jumped by wolves. But they also know if they stay close enough, they can get leftovers. Coyotes basically treat us like another wolf, so if one steps up, remind him who you are, because history has proven what happens when you don't. Tourists in South Africa fed the baboons so much that they started expecting it, to the point where they don't fear or respect people. That's how you get carjacked by boons. Macaques in India have gotten so used to people that the government had used their fear of an even bigger monkey called a langur against them. But since owning a langur is illegal, yep, that man got paid to do that. So unless y'all want to be out here wearing wolf suits, get to hazing.
Weirdest world records that will make your skin crawl. Zion Clark was born without legs because of a rare genetic condition and dreams of becoming a multi-time Olympic champion. He recently achieved the record for the fastest man on his hands in the world. Measured at a length of 24 feet, Ayana Williams has the female record for the longest fingernails on a pair of hands. Next, this video shows 20-year-old Karubal Yoma from Ethiopia performing a unique talent as he attempts to break the record for the longest time to spray water from his mouth. He achieved the record spraying water for 56 seconds straight. This clip shows Sultan Kosin from Turkey and Chandra Dongi from Nepal as they're meeting for the first time in 2014. At the time, Sultan was the tallest man in the world, measuring a staggering 8 foot 2 inches, whereas Chandra was the shortest, measuring just 21.5 inches tall.
Shortest man, tallest man. Meat, bro. It's like a crossover episode. Yeah. Middle of the night, nobody's there. I'm out.
Video, but I'm gonna let you know right now it's gonna get weird. Their scientific name is Cryptoprothia, which roughly translates to hidden anus, because apparently the outer pink Julian has its pink balloon not covered by a pouch, and the naming guy just couldn't get over it. Like the movie, Fuso are the primary population control for lemurs, and they don't discriminate, any lemur can get it, even the ones as big as them. Their closest relatives are the meerkat, aka the most homicidal mammal on the planet, and the civet. We make coffee with their poop. Female fossils do this weird thing where they become really masculinized and start exhibiting traits normally only seen in males. Now, because of guidelines, I can't say exactly what that means, but I will say this. It's a lot like the situation hyenas got, and that one's not a boy. Except with fossils, the females eventually go back to factory settings, and like the fossils they were studying, scientists were also stumped. But one theory is that clitoral cross-dressing keeps the juvenile females from getting harassed by males. And I don't blame them, because during mating season, a female will pick a tree, stay there, and wait for males to come to her. Which they do, one at a time, choo-choo style, no engine, for up to 14 hours total. Not only does she get more rain through than a trackney, but if you've been on the wrong side of Wattpad, then you know that a male cat's pickle has spikes on it. And the fossils, they got their equipment from the same supplier, which can cause the fossa fling to get stuck to each other in a tie. Yeah, it's as uncomfortable as you think. One session with one male can last 3 hours, and remember, they take on the whole team. We're talking both starting lineups, the bench, equipment manager, even the water boy gets his time when the sun don't shine. I told you it'd get weird. Also, we just hit 1 billion likes, so in honor of that, I'll make a video on whatever the top comment is. Within reason. Within reason.
This is how humans
That
would
is
look if we
insane.
evolved differently. This right here is what it would look like if we evolved into the perfect human body. Firstly, your eyes would be bigger to eliminate blind spots. And you have to note the fact that it would be easier for women to give birth. We would have better hearing with our ears, and our lungs would kind of be like birds. If we evolved into the perfect human, we would kind of look like a marsupial. Next, this is how humans would look if we adapted to survive car crashes. We would have very thick skin and a flat cover face. We would also have no neck because it breaks easily in car crashes. And finally, the bones in your legs are kind of like springs. This one is kind of crazy. This is what humans would look like if we evolved for the vacuum of outer space. Finally, this is how humans would look if we evolved to live underwater. We would have webbed fingers and kind of a gilled chest. We would most closely resemble a duck.
Which one would we taking, man? I'm taking the first one, bro. All the other ones, man, look like some horrible, man.
Look what I saw today, y'all. As we were driving on the seawall in Galveston, I turned to the right while my mom was driving, and I saw this, and I scrumped. I made her pull over, and my sister took a picture of me with it. I was terrified. I did not want to look at it. And also, if you didn't see, in London a couple weeks ago, I took a picture with the Hulk. Also, terrified. What is the point of me showing y'all this? I am continuously pushing my boundaries, facing my fears in every single aspect of my life. I have some more personal things that I've been doing with facing my fears that don't have to do with my phobias, and I've just been pushing myself. And I want to take a moment to just tell people, face your fears. I was terrified of this thing. I didn't want to go anywhere near it, but I knew that if I did it, I would feel proud of myself. And I could tell myself that I can do anything. I know this is super corny. This is super, super corny. A lot of people don't want to hear this. A lot of people are like, just shut up, make megalophobia videos and submechanophobia videos. I don't care about you as a person. But me personally, I have struggled with this phobia my entire life, and I've always been made fun of it. And I am trying to do better in life. And I'm trying to push myself and see what else I can accomplish. And the fact that I allowed myself to go anywhere near these two things, I am so extremely proud of myself, and I know that I can do anything. If I can face my fears, I can do anything. So I implore you to just take little steps every day to try and face your fears, and I promise you can do anything. I love y'all. Have a wonderful day. Toodles.
This is why the city where Michael Jackson grew up is now one of the most abandoned cities in America. From its height back in 1960, Gary, Indiana has now lost a staggering 62% of its population. And because cities are not designed to lose people, especially at such a rapid rate, you now have what's quickly becoming an eerie ghost town with vacant homes, crumbling infrastructure, and empty streets. But it wasn't always like this. In its glory days, it was thriving, and it was even known as the Magic City. So where the hell did it all go wrong? You see, Gary was originally built as a company town for U.S. Steel, but its population quickly exploded, and in just under 70 years, it became home to nearly 118,000 people, one of which was Michael Jackson's dad, who raised his 9 children in a small house in Midtown. But as the years passed and cheaper steel-making alternatives became available overseas, the industry was sent into a tailspin. For perspective, at its peak, Gary Works employed 32,000 people. Today, that number is only 3,000, and as jobs left, businesses closed, crime rose, and the exodus began. Gary was soon dubbed the murder capital of the USA. But fast forward to today, and a local said it best. We used to be the murder capital of the US, but there's hardly anybody left to kill. In 2023, 36% of Gary's residents live in poverty. A third of its buildings are in some form of rot. And its neighboring city of Hammond even decided to block off the road that connected the two of them in a desperate attempt to try and get people back to Gary. In 2019, authorities announced that they will be selling a number of houses in the city for just $1. But despite this, as of yet, the abandoned buildings of Gary remain lifeless.
You know how desperate you have to be, man, to sell houses in this market? A freaking $1, bro. That should sell the whole story right there, man. A house for $1? You know that's not happening anywhere else, bro.
Why you should never explore an abandoned cemetery at night. A 19-year-old was hanging out with his friend named Sean one day. While they were hanging out, Sean came up with the idea to explore an abandoned cemetery down the road. So when nighttime came, the two men drove to the cemetery. The cemetery probably dated back centuries, and had a really creepy vibe to it because it was surrounded by gothic metal fence. It was surrounded by trees on 2 sides, and then an abandoned building on the other side. Ironically, it was a very cloudy, wet day, conveniently adding to the mood. When they arrived at the cemetery, it was pitch black. They cut through the woods and climbed a small fence to get in. While they were exploring the cemetery, Sean's friend ended up seeing something really strange. He was looking at the abandoned building, and for a brief moment, he could see a man who was looking at him duck down. He then told Sean about what he had just saw. Sean then went to find an entrance to the abandoned building. Stay tuned for part 2, because what they ended up finding was extremely scary.
The Sean and fine, bro.
Let's see if you have mysophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have mysophobia. So let's go. Number 1. And how about this?
Okay.
Feeling uncomfortable yet? Nearly there. Last one. If those photos made you feel uncomfortable, then you could have mysophobia, which is the fear of dirt and germs. Follow now to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
I made it through, bro. But I still don't like dirt and germs, though. Those rules were crazy, bro. I don't know how people can live like that.
The strangest fact about each zodiac sign. Okay, firstly, it's scientifically proven that if you're a Gemini, you're good at lying. So the next time you're around a Gemini, you might not want to believe everything they say. Alright, next, if you're a Taurus, the strangest fact about you guys is you all are known to be stalkers. And the scary thing is, you might never know they're doing this. Now, this one creeps me out. Out of all the signs, Scorpios are the ones who have the most dark and creepy thoughts. But my question is, what do you all be thinking about? Well, if that wasn't bad enough, Cancers are proven to be the most dangerous. They get arrested the most, and the crimes are usually pretty serious. I'm sorry to say, but if you're a Leo, it's proven that you guys are the worst drivers. Finally, this is probably the most unusual fact of them all. If you're an Aries, it's said that you are obsessed with death. This just doesn't sit right with me.
The strangest fact about each zodiac sign. Capricorn. Good at reading minds.
Really?
Sagittarius. Hate when people are suffering. Aries. Short-tempered.
5 rare phobias you've never heard of. Part 2. Examplephobia is a fear of the color yellow, meaning people with this phobia are scared of things like bananas and school buses. Aerophobia is a fear of fresh air or a breeze. This phobia is a common symptom if you have rabies. Amathophobia is a fear of dust. Research found that this fear occasionally shows up in librarians. Somnophobia is the fear of initiating sleep. It's most common in people who experience sleep paralysis. Deipnophobia is the fear of eating with others. This can come from a fear of criticizing what other people think of you eating, or the fear of having to talk to other people while you're eating.
Okay. Nice new phobias.
I need you to stop and listen to this story because this predator's face needs to be everywhere. His name is Jesse Mack Butler, and he's 18, a high school athlete from Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is the same town where Oklahoma State University is. His dad, Mack Butler, is OSU's former director of football operations, and his mom, maybe even his sister, still work at OSU, and that'll matter in a second. Oh, and by the way, make sure that follow button. So, when Jesse was 17, he was charged as an adult, facing 78 years in prison for SA and horrific assaults that left at least one girl hospitalized. One victim said that she told him no, and he choked her until she blacked out. Doctors say 30 more seconds and she would have been dead. When she came to, he did it again because he wanted to record it on his phone. So, he pled guilty, admitting what he did, and he was set to spend decades behind bars. But then, Judge Susan Worthington comes along, a woman with deep ties to OSU and its athletic community. She stepped in and reclassified him as a youthful offender, and that single move wiped out the entire adult conviction and the 78-year sentence that came along with it. From there, he changed his plea to no contest, which still means he admitted to what he did, and the court found a factual basis for every charge. But how long did he get? Well, it certainly wasn't 78 years. He got 150 hours of community service. Along with it came a curfew, counseling, and supervision by the Office of Juvenile Affairs until his 19th birthday, which is less than a year away. After that, the state's jurisdiction ends, and his record gets expunged, no SO list. His psychological evaluation and rehabilitation plan are sealed, so the public can't even see why the court thought he deserved to walk free. And according to people close to the case, he's still messaging girls, asking if they're single, asking to hook up, while he is still enrolled, at least virtually, at Stillwater High School. Meanwhile, his victims live with the trauma the court can't erase. This is what happens when power protects privilege. Someone can admit everything, face nearly 8 decades, and walk out with community service all because of who he's connected to and a plea deal. If that doesn't make you furious or beyond furious, it should, because this isn't justice, it is permission. He will offend again, probably next year at college where he has alcohol to help ply his victims. So here's my call to action. Share this story. Share his face. Let every woman in that community, every girl on campus know exactly who he is. And if you want to help stop this from happening again, there's a petition in my bio. Sign it, share it, and speak up. Because until we fix this system, there will always be another Jesse Mack Butler walking free while his victims pay the price. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments on how this makes you feel, and of course, make sure to hit that follow button.
With the help of his girlfriend. It kind of sounds like something out of a movie. The story begins in 2021 when Alessandro Venier traveled from Italy to the city of Barranquilla in Colombia for vacation, and while he was there, he met Mylene Castro Monsalvo. And of course, at first, like any relationship, things were great and everything seemed perfect. But after Mylene moved to Italy, it wasn't long until their dynamic started to shift. Mylene accused Alessandro of abuse. As time went on, this also turned into death threats. Mylene said that Alessandro began threatening her life and their baby as well. He told her that he was going to drown her in a river in Colombia and that no one would ever find out. Mylene was terrified, and so she confided in her mother-in-law, Alessandro's mother, 61-year-old Lorena Venier. So now that Lorena knows about the abuse, the threats from her son, she comes up with this insane plan. On the night of July 25th, 2025, Lorena and Mylene spiked a glass of lemonade with a tranquilizer, hoping Alessandro would drink it and pass out. And that's exactly what happened, because Alessandro finished an entire glass, and after Alessandro was pretty much knocked out from the spiked lemonade, his mother injected him with multiple doses of insulin. While Alessandro was practically unconscious, his mother and girlfriend smothered him with a pillow and then strangled him with his own shoelaces. That's when Lorena decides to use a hacksaw to cut her son's body into 3 parts.
The monster can see you through your webcam when you're playing this game. You literally have to move out of its line of sight if it's near you. And while you're doing this, you can't even move your character. The game is called Eyes Never Wake, and right now it's one of my most anticipated horror games just based on the concept alone. The game starts with a face calibration to make sure you're actually using a webcam. And then based on the trailer, it comes down to a game of cat and mouse. We've played games where the monster can hear you through your mic, but this is just a whole new level. Would you play a horror game like this? Or maybe you'd rather watch me play a horror game like this? It's not out yet, but when it comes out, I will absolutely be playing it.
This is Abigail Megan.
Should I check that out,
I'm going to be the
Sneakers?
one to make the comparison. Yes, there are some things that make these movies very similar, which I'm not going to lie, at the beginning scared me, because as you guys know, I was not a huge fan of Megan. I didn't think there was anything scary about a TikTok dancing robot who unalives people with katanas. Just wasn't my thing. But I guess when the movie bases around a vampire dancing ballerina, it makes it a little bit better. But I can be honest, there are a few scenes where she is doing ballerina dances while unaliving people. She has to super similar to Megan. That's the only similarity. Because other than that, this movie was fantastic. I would almost venture to call it a horror comedy. Because the dialogue between all of the characters and the synergistic way they all play a role is hilarious. The arguments. Even the way Abigail is unaliving some of these people is just hilarious. If you're wondering, yes, you still get that horror vibe. There are still jumps here. As I said, I would almost venture to call it a horror comedy. Because she's literally toying with them. Of course, stars characters like Melissa Barrera and the late Angus Cloud. But this might be the funniest scene in the whole entire film. I'm not going to spoil anything, but once they find out Abigail is actually Dracula's daughter and she's standing on all kinds of business, it's just genuinely hilarious. The way they act is just so funny because they have no idea what to do. They're mercenaries. They're not vampire hunters. Like and follow for more.
Okay. I think I heard about the movie Abigail too. Never seen it though. Yeah, I noticed, man. I'm not into scary movies like that. What was that? Welcome to the garage. You did the right thing.
Someone on TikTok is actually building a 10-foot animatronic rabbit and says it can run faster than you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Progress Report number 24.
This is Nosy, the creation of TikTok user Citra. He's been posting progress reports since June showing massive hands, legs, and a terrifying rabbit-like head. He claims that when it's finished, Nosy will be waterproof, fireproof, bulletproof, and be able to sprint at 32 miles per hour. You know what's even worse? It's designed to move silently, so you'll have no idea when Nosy is coming. The internet is obsessed with Nosy, and just from this one update, it pulled in 23 million views and over 2 million followers just for this project. Fans say it looks like something straight out of Five Nights at Freddy's or the Walton Files. But engineers online aren't convinced. They argue that the science doesn't add up and a machine this big can be fireproof, waterproof, and be able to move that fast. Still, whether it's a hoax or a prop, it's enough to freak me out. And here's the real question: what should you do if you ever see Nosy in the wild? First, don't ever try to outrun it because it's supposedly faster than you. Second, don't hide in the dark, it's designed to move silently. Third, your best bet, stay in the open, keep your distance, and hope Nosy is only a prop. Because if it's not, you're living in a real-life horror game.
This is all the latest
I'm
news
getting
for
the
the
jets.
UK.
Sorry.
Spend 60 seconds. If you have a best friend, you can say goodbye. Honestly, should we leave? Yep, it's now banned in UK schools to have a best friend. So they ban A-levels and say we have to stay in school doing maths and English till we're 18. They're trying to ban flipping school holidays. No, you can't even have a best friend. Yeah, apparently having a best friend is extremely harmful and detrimental to young kids' health. NASA has urged the UK to search for the Loch Ness Monster again. Why? I don't know. But from the 30th of May to the 2nd of June, so not very long, NASA, along with research teams in Scotland, will be searching Loch Ness for the Loch Ness Monster again. Could NASA be doing better things? Probably. Is there a Loch Ness Monster? Probably not. The Rwanda bill is becoming law this Thursday, apparently. Will it? Who knows? Ryanair CEO stepped forward and said that he will use his planes to take these people to Rwanda. This is, of course, to tackle illegal migration, but the government are still wanting to put money into paying influencers to tell people not to come to the UK, so we'll see if that works. Baba Vanga, the famous mystic who has predicted lots of things correctly, her predictions are starting to come true in the UK now as well, such as us being in a recession and the huge economic crisis which she predicted for 2024. Did she predict it, or are we all just stupid? As always, I'll keep you updated on all the latest stuff, so add me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Morbid Facts, Part 304. 28-year-old Brittany Zamora was an award-winning elementary school attorney blamed the student for the teacher's crimes, arguing that the boy was a teenager, not a child. A woman from Germany was sentenced to 7 years in prison after dropping her newborn baby daughter out of her apartment window. She apparently thought that having a child would ruin her career as an executive for Porsche. In 1996, Charles Whitman murdered 17 people with a sniper at the University of Texas before being killed by police. In a note he left behind, Whitman requested an autopsy since he felt something was seriously wrong with his brain. He'd been having severe fits of rage that he'd never experienced before and could not explain. The autopsy found that Whitman had a small tumor pressing up against his amygdala, the part of the brain that regulates fear and aggression. This likely contributed to his sudden erratic behavior.
The Smurl family home was once considered to be the most haunted house in America. A lot of people are talking about this because it's most recently been dramatized in the new Conjuring movie. But the real story behind this house dates back to the 1970s. This was when Jack and Janet Smurl had moved into a new home because they were hit by a hurricane, so they really needed something cheap. So their family ended up finding this duplex in Pittston, Pennsylvania, and they all moved in, but it wasn't long until they started to experience something off. The house gained widespread notoriety because of unexplained things going missing, objects moving, and sightings of a shadow figure. This is one of the eeriest things that was documented during the investigation of the home. It wasn't even just the Smurl family that saw this, the neighbors saw it too. Something really interesting about the case I was reading up on was that the father actually claimed he was sexually assaulted by whatever was in that house. And in one of the rarer turns in this case, even the Vatican got involved in a sanctioned exorcism. That is exceedingly rare. It almost never happens.
Somebody just told me that this snail is one of the deadliest creatures on the planet. I call it bullshit.
A snail? That does sound like BS. But it's not. Meet the freshwater snail. Now this might sound crazy, but these bad boys are responsible for turning more people past tense than elephants, hippos, tigers, lions, and crocodiles.
How?
Combined. You see, these snails live in big open bodies of water, and they have these parasitic worms attached to them. When it's time to reproduce, these worms will detach from the snail and go look for a new host to lay their eggs in, being you. And all you have to do is enter the water. They can make it into your body simply by contact. It's some bull. Not to mention, once they're in your body, they'll navigate their way to your blood vessels, where they can live for decades. But that's not the problem. It's when they lay eggs that becomes a problem. Their eggs are really sharp, like barbed wire. And the purpose of the eggs are to make it out of your body back into the water. But sometimes it's not that easy, and these eggs will get lodged in your body, causing a condition known as schistosomiasis. And this condition is what's going to put you on the news. Moral of the story, if you're ever swimming in a body of fresh water, just be careful of the slimy assassin. And as always, follow for more facts.
This woman was left blind after her ex threw acid on her face, but then she forgave him and then married him. This is the story of Berfine Ozek. She was 18 years old when her ex-boyfriend threw acid on her face after she ended their relationship. Kasim Ozan had threatened Berfine multiple times before, but on January 2019, he waited until she left her house and he attacked her. She suffered severe burns, permanent disfigurement, as you can see in these photos, and she lost her vision in one eye. Kasim was arrested and was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months in prison. And Berfine initially testified against him, but things quickly changed. Absolutely no one expected this, but while Kasim was in prison, he wrote letters to Berfine. He apologized and expressed his love for her. And that's when eventually Berfine withdrew her complaint and stated that she still loved him and that she forgave him. Then in 2021, Kasim was released from prison early, and a year later, Berfine and Kasim got married. And of course, people were so upset and even concerned that this woman was being manipulated, and others just thought that she settled with this man because no one else would love her because of how she looked. Her own family also tried to stop her from marrying this evil man, but she insisted, and apparently they cut ties with her.
Could you guys forget something like that, man? Threw acid on your face and you end up marrying them a year later? That can't be me. But everybody's different. Somebody chasing after them those stairs. You hit the jets. You said, I'm out.
What is the secret behind the mysterious cult in No, I'm Not a Human? And what does it have to do with the hole in your basement? We're going to talk about their secret, the god they worship, and the ending associated with their story. Of course, massive spoilers ahead. I have a full playthrough of this game on my channel with like 5 different endings, so check that out if you're interested. The events of No, I'm Not a Human cause a lot of strange things to happen. People start panicking, some become vigilantes that just kill anyone they see, and a cult also emerges that worships death. During one of the nights, this man visits your door, and he is a cult leader. He asks you to watch over his flock, and he gives you 3 of his members to stay in your home. So for the next several days, you have to keep each of these cult members alive. Now, this is very challenging to do since many visitors end up coming to your home. If you manage to keep all 3 alive, though, when the cult leader returns, he makes you a crazy offer. He offers you to join the cult, and you can accept. If you do, you embrace death like all of the other members. When I was first playing this game, I thought this was a way for the cult members to cope with inevitable death from the apocalypse. But no, their god of death is actually real in the game. In one of the other endings, you can actually dig a hole in your basement. And when you dig deep enough, it brings you down to a strange pit. And at the bottom of that pit is death. Yes, the god of death is actually real, and she exists under your home. You can also talk to her, and if you do, she gives you the release that all the cult members were chasing. Not heaven, hell, or any sort of afterlife. An existence of perfect, peaceful isolation away from everybody else. It's actually kind of a beautiful ending after the events of the game.
If you've ever seen this man, you may be cursed. So around 2009, a man by the name of Jacob Fairchild was doing a human experiment in an old insane asylum. The experiment was to see if the subjects could stay awake for an entire month playing a computer game that he designed. But the people that were doing this experiment were not heard from afterwards. Jacob was apparently losing his mind while conducting this experiment. He started wearing a mask covered in eyes, calling himself the Timekeeper. This is an image that a former staff member had drawn of him. Eventually, legend has it, he went so crazy he locked everyone inside the facility and burned it down, killing everyone. But as the place was burning down, it was the only thing not damaged by the fire. Recently, it's been reported that the game Jacob created has been randomly resurfacing on people's computers. To this day, 2 of the teens that reported playing the game have died, 3 have gone missing, and 1 reported seeing this person upon starting the game. And no one who has ever played the game has won.
3 American things that the British just do not understand. At number 3, why is your food so humongous? How can you even eat this much food? This geezer can't even put his chopper around the burger. Look at a normal burger from the UK, and you look at one from the USA, and you wonder why there's so many obese people over there. Fact. And number 2, pricing. The price here says $349, so I think I'm paying $349. But when I get to the till, it's now $379. You need to sort this out. Just be like the UK, man. The price we see is the price we pay. And at number 1, easy cheese. What even is this? Because I'm telling you now, this ain't cheese. You should never be squirting cheese out of a can. Makes me think, is this the stuff your president uses on his face?
What the heck?
I'd be dead, I think, right? I mean, he's not wrong. That thing is basically a swimming pain inducer. Let me explain. Meet the Portuguese Man Award. Now, at first glance, it looks like a jellyfish, but it's not at all. In fact, technically, this isn't even just one creature. This whole creature is actually a colony of smaller creatures known as zooids, coming together and living as one unit. And they form this highly venomous bag of problems. You see that little bubble? That's their flotation device. That's how they get across the ocean. That is safe to touch. However, underneath that are these tentacles that can get up to 150 feet long. Those are not safe to touch. That's where the stingers are. And a sting by one of them will cause severe pain, swelling, this lightning-like scarring, and potentially a meeting with your maker. The ocean's so fun. In other words, that is one dangerous creature, or society. Moral of the story, if you're ever on the beach and you see one of these, look, but don't touch. Trust me. You'll thank me later. And as always, follow for more facts.
More facts. Part 305. In 1996, 14-year-old Barry Lukaitis opened fire on his high school algebra class in Washington State, killing 2 fellow students and the teacher. As his classmates were panicking, Barry was quoted saying, "This sure beats the hell out of algebra, doesn't it?" He's currently serving out a 189-year prison sentence for the murders. In 1982, 28-year-old fencing legend Vladimir Smirnov was killed at the World Fencing Championship when a broken foil pierced his mask, entered his eye socket, and penetrated his brain. The incident is why fencing uniforms now require Kevlar as a standard. In 2017, a 13-year-old boy died after his classmate threw a piece of cheese at him. The boy suffered from multiple severe allergies, including dairy, and was sent into anaphylactic shock soon after the cheese made contact with his neck. The classmate told authorities that he was only playing around and didn't realize that the boy suffered from a severe allergy.
Was Rogelio Andaverde abducted? Stay tuned to find out. 34-year-old Andaverde said he was abducted by 2 men in Edinburgh, Texas. His wife, obviously frightened, called the cops. Nobody could find him. However, 2 days later, he turned up to the home, unarmed and not missing anymore. So what exactly happened here? Investigators got heavily involved in this because the wife filed a missing persons report, and what they found was crazy. It turned out he had staged his own abduction to go out and party with his friends. This guy was on a 2-day bender, and he staged his own abduction to do that. He claims he did this because he was afraid of his wife and what she would say or do. And this was a crazy setup too. So this happened back in 2013. His friends literally broke into the house with guns and everything. There was a whole search with helicopters and a ton of sheriffs as well. Because of all this, he actually had to serve 19 days in jail. I mean, that's valid. His wife was probably scared like crazy. But this might be one of the craziest true crime cases I've ever covered. It takes a lot of effort to stage something like this. Kind of insane. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. If you were his wife, what would you do?
Bro, faked an abduction, man, just because he was on a bender. So he was capping, bro, the whole time. He only did 19 days. Could have been more. Tell the truth, man.
After dating a Backstreet Boy, this school teacher lured a teenage boy into her car. This story starts way back in 1995 when Deborah LaFave attended East Bay High School in Florida. Her first boyfriend was Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys, and they dated for about a year before she ended up cheating on him with a girl and they broke up. She then went on a couple of years later to become a glamour model for a magazine called Makes and Models, but she had aspirations of becoming a teacher. She graduated college in 2002 and got a job at the Greco Middle School in Temple Terrace in Florida, and shortly after married a guy called Owen LaFave. But Owen had no idea what he was letting himself in for and what kind of woman Deborah was. Now, he was pretty suspicious actually that she was having some kind of affair, but he was actually thinking that it was probably with a colleague at the school, not one of the young students. It was June 2004 that this whole sick situation started to unravel. Now bear in mind this student was 14 years old and I obviously can't name him for legal reasons. The boy's mum just started to feel like something was off. She'd noticed that Deborah, the teacher, had been wearing really inappropriate outfits to teach these students. She was in like mini skirts and she also seemed to be giving them a lot of attention. And her son seemed to be spending more and more time communicating with her, which was just so strange. Like, why does a 23-year-old woman need to be texting a 14-year-old schoolboy? Turns out that this boy and Deborah had got close on a school trip to SeaWorld Orlando. And she was just pushing so many boundaries. She was like almost pushing and pushing and pushing until things were just so inappropriate. At one point she gave this boy detention, but this was just a total excuse to get him on his own. When he did come into her class, she exposed herself to him and kissed him. And things really, really escalated to a sickening degree. It's believed that she had both S and OS with this child on 4 occasions. Once this was even at her marital home that she shared with Owen. I don't know where the hell Owen was. This also happened in her classroom and in the back seat of her car. All of this ended up coming out. As I said, the mum was suspicious anyway, but I believe a family member ended up spotting the pair of them out together and told the mum. And this all just came out when the mum confronted the little boy. She was horrified. She was like fully grilling him and he just admitted everything. He even obviously had like text messages to prove what had been going on. He immediately rang the police and they took a statement from this little boy and just confirmed everything that the mum had feared. They ended up even getting the boy to communicate with Deborah and secretly recorded their conversation. And the next part is crazy. Her defense in court said that she would be too pretty to send to prison. Apparently she didn't view herself as a criminal because she said she was in love with this boy. She obviously got banned from teaching ever again, but got absolutely 0 prison time. She was arrested again actually in 2007 for violating her probation by speaking to a 17-year-old restaurant worker, but I don't think anything came of that.
These 3 facts will...
The fact that the defense says she's pretty to go to jail, bro. People were just saying anything, man, to keep them out. That's one of the crazy things we've heard yet.
Ruin your day. Number 3. You know when you go swimming and you open your eyes underwater and they go bloodshot red? Well, don't be fooled because this isn't just from the chlorine. They actually go red from the chemical mixture from chlorine and urine. So I hate to say it guys, but you've got someone wee in your eyes. Number 2. I want you to think back to as far as you can remember. There was a stage in your life where your parents picked you up, put you down, and they never picked you up again. And after that, these loving moments, gone. And at number 1, right now the world population is at its peak of being the most obese it has ever been. We're a bunch of fatties. But somehow, there's still world hunger and 40% of all food still goes to waste. Brighten up someone's day by sharing this message and follow for more.
This is all the latest breaking news in the UK, but in 60 seconds. 13-year-old boy has passed away, now officially banning best friends in UK schools. What? What do you mean? Yep, some schools have already decided to ban having a best friend, and others are starting to bring this into place. It's still trying to ban school holidays or cut them down, so yeah, if you're still in school, I'm sorry. In Wales, they are officially going to make it a criminal conviction to lie. This is just for MPs and people in Parliament. But people are saying, oh, this is going to happen to the general public. Is it? Probably not, but I'll let you know. And this Thursday, so 2 days' time, is officially the day the Rwanda Bill becomes law. This is, of course, an effort to tackle on the illegal immigration. I do these roundups every day, so make sure you hit that follow button, and I'll see you tomorrow.
The world's most dangerous conspiracy theories. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking some from each category until we reach Tier 10, the point of no return. Tier 10 is so scary that some people are saying that I will die before I even reach Tier 10. Okay, Tier 1. Today we're going to be talking about cryptozoology. Cryptozoology is defined as the search for animals whose existence is disputed. For example, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, and the Loch Ness Monster. For this one, I want to talk about the Ningen. The Ningen is based in Japan. It's an aquatic humanoid creature that can be larger than a whale but also mutate into a human. I know what you're thinking, no way this is real. I thought the same thing until I saw this. In 2007, a company published a magazine with Ningens on the cover. The magazines were completely destroyed with no trace, but I found the PDF file of what it looked like. It gets even weirder. Early February 2013, a huge mysterious object washes ashore that makes locals freak out. 3 days later, the website was taken down without a trace. Doing some more research, I found out that people from Japan created a forum page talking about all of the government corruption that was happening. They then began to speak on the Ningen, and somebody says that he was on the research ship when they captured it on camera, and then government officials raided the boat and even supposedly killing some of the people. 3 days later, the forum page was taken down without a trace, but I found it once again, and take a look at one of the videos somebody posted.
Alright. Well, we saw something about that stairs. Right there, slow-mo, bro. Dope slow-mo.
So what do you think? Is this Ningen just some myth, or is the government hiding something much darker? This was only Tier 1. Make sure to follow to see Tier 2, because we have a lot more to cover.
We definitely saw that, right? I don't know if that was like could have been fake. I don't know, somebody made like that off their phone or something like that. Looked pretty real to me though.
She helped to solve her own murder beyond the grave. It was the 28th of April in 2010 in Clayton County, Georgia. Now, Candice Parchment was a 15-year-old student who lived with her mum, and as you can see from the photo, she's absolutely stunning. She went to Forest Park High School and was extremely liked. She had this gorgeous smile, and she was just such a confident girl. She was also very family-oriented and, like me, really close with her mum. So it was really weird when she didn't come home one day, and her mum immediately knew something was wrong. So she rang up the police and she told them, this is just not like my daughter, she always comes home. She wasn't answering her phone and she always answered to her mum. But really infuriatingly, the police just didn't take this case seriously. They were like, oh yeah, she's probably just run away. What do you mean she's probably just run away? But here's the really weird part. Her mum then got a couple of random texts off her phone, and they were really blunt. She just knew. You know when you like know how somebody texts? I bet you guys have got like friends and family members, and you just would know if somebody was using their phone and it wasn't them. The one text said, I'm in Tennessee, and the other one just said, I'm okay. Like, that wasn't how Candice spoke. And her mum knew that, well, if it's not Candice using her own phone, she can't get hold of Candice, then she's definitely not okay. So the mum was doing, like, typical mum things in this situation. She was just hunting high and low, driving all around, looking everywhere she could for Candice, and she couldn't find her anywhere. Months and months rumbled on with absolutely no sign of her. I just can't imagine. But then a shocking discovery in November 2010. Under a mattress behind a dumpster were Candice's clothes and her body. Horrifically, she'd been there so long and was so decomposed that she was essentially a skeleton. She had to be identified by those clothes that they found. And I've heard in some cases that relatives say how heartbreaking it is to realise that your loved one has been laid dead somewhere for ages and you just didn't know. Like, I can totally imagine how upsetting that would have been. Even though the person is dead, you still can't even envisage the thought of them just being out there on their own. Police finally decided to start bloody investigating this now. I mean, she's clearly not a runaway, for God's sake. But sadly, the crime scene pretty much didn't have any clues as to who could have done this. With her being so decomposed, it was really difficult to even determine a cause of death. The only slight clue was that her remains were located near an apartment block, so police started wondering if the killer had something to do with that apartment block. But frustratingly, the case really did kind of grind to a halt. They didn't really have anything else to go off of until the following year when Candice's mum was actually moving house. She understandably just wanted to get away from the area where her daughter was found dead, so she was packing up boxes in the house, she was like putting stuff away, and she came across Candice's diary. And when she read this, she immediately rang police. She was like, you've got to see what is in this diary. One entry prior to Candice's murder revealed she had been the victim of a terrifying attack where she'd actually feared for her life. This was at the hands of Marsha Hickman and Jermaine Robinson in January 2010, so very shortly before, in the grand scheme of things, before she was murdered. They tried to R her in an abandoned house, which just sounds absolutely horrific. The diary said Jermaine hit her in the head with a rake and Marsha blocked the door. They choked her and tried to unzip her clothes. Bear in mind, this is not only R, but this girl at the time was 15. 15. I believe these guys at this point were around 18, 19. She's thankfully been able to fight back and escape, but she was absolutely terrified and obviously thought she was going to die. This now gave police both suspects and a potential motive. You know, did they want to murder her to shut her up, basically? Marche at this point was actually in prison for burglary charges. Investigators got both of these men for questioning and they basically both turned on each other. It's pretty funny how this happens sometimes. Jermaine decided to testify against Marche, and Marche pleaded guilty to the murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole plus 20 years. Also got an additional 50 years for attacking Candice and trying to kill her back in 2010. Jermaine got 15 years for the attempted SA on Candice that she documented in her own diary. So she basically got justice from the grave.
It's karma, man. It's gonna come back to you, bro. What comes around goes around, bro. Plain and simple. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I appreciate the support. Make sure you guys like thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Hit that post notification bell. You guys gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.